Every invention begins as a whisper in the human imagination, and the story of robots begins with that whisper becoming motion. For thousands of years, people have dreamed of creating helpers that move on their own, quiet partners made of gears, metal, or code. Tonight we drift gently into that long story, the soft, evolving breath of machines unfolding across time. Welcome to AstraFlow. Here, science drifts like starlight, and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts slow down, your breathing find its rhythm, and your mind float through wonder. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you lying in bed under city lights, or watching the stars from somewhere quiet? Tell me in the comments. It's always peaceful to imagine the AstraFlow community scattered across the world, drifting together through the same sky. And if this calm journey brings you peace, you can gently support AstraFlow by liking this video or subscribing. It helps this little corner of the cosmos keep glowing. Now, let's begin tonight's voyage into the quiet story of how robots have evolved over time. Think of a robot not as a machine of metal, but as an echo of human curiosity. A desire to build something that moves without tiring, something that works with patient precision, something that can help us reach places our bodies cannot. That desire, that ancient longing, has shaped cultures, myths, and inventions for centuries. And as we drift through this story, I invite you to imagine each era like a soft lantern glowing along a winding path. Each lantern revealing a new step in the evolution of mechanical life. The earliest robots were not made of circuits or silicon. They were sketches in the sand, dreams carved into legend. Tales of artificial beings appear in stories from Greece, China, Egypt. Stories of statues that step down from pedestals or clay figures brought to life. Humanity has always carried this quiet wish to create something that moves with intention. Not to replace ourselves, but to extend the reach of our hands, the rhythm of our breath, the boundaries of our imagination. Tonight, as your body settles deeper into comfort, think of this journey as slow waves of time washing gently against you. Each wave carries a moment when robots changed, when new ideas sparked, when metal learned to bend, when circuits learned to think, when code learned to listen. It's not a tale of sudden leaps, but of gradual unfolding, like a dawn slowly brightening a landscape. The story of robots is also the story of us. Every machine reflects the hopes of its creators, our search for efficiency, our fear of danger, our fascination with movement, our longing for connection. Robots are mirrors, quiet ones, reflecting our desires, our wonders, and even our uncertainties. Tonight we'll drift from ancient automata to modern robots that navigate distant planets. From clockwork puzzles to learning machines that adapt and grow. We will move softly through time, letting each invention rest like a pebble in the palm of your hand. You don't need to remember the details, just let the story wash over you like a warm, slow tide. Let each image form and fade gently. Let the notion of evolving machines be a lullaby of motion, a long, quiet exhale of human creativity. And now, with your breath steady and calm, we drift to the beginning of our journey, where a single question awaits. Why do we feel compelled to create a mind outside our own? What does it mean truly to shape something that thinks, something that reacts, learns, or moves without your direct touch? This question has lingered beside humanity for longer than electricity, longer than science, longer even than written language. It is a question older than metal and gears, a question that feels almost instinctual, woven into the quiet corners of our imagination. And tonight, as you rest, we let this question drift softly around us like faint starlight in a dark room. To create a mind is to explore the boundaries of ourselves. Humans have always sensed the edges of their own limitations, the strength our bodies do not have, the endless hours our minds cannot sustain, the distances we cannot travel. In those gaps, those delicate spaces between ability and wonder, something begins to grow. A wish, a curiosity, a shimmering possibility. And that possibility asks, could we make something that continues our motion when we grow tired? Could we make something that listens to the world with senses sharper than ours? Could we make a partner that carries the part of us that dreams? Robots in their simplest form are answers to these soft, persistent questions. They are not born from cold engineering alone. They are born from longing, from imagination, from the wish to extend our reach and multiply our presence. As you breathe slowly in and out, imagine all of humanity exhaling that wish across centuries, each exhale shaping a gear, a spring, a circuit, a line of code, each step a quiet effort to create something that moves with its own rhythm. But what is a mind exactly? A mind is not simply intelligence. It is not computation or logic or data. A mind is awareness, connection, the subtle ability to respond to the world in a way that feels personal. So when we ask what it means to create a mind, we aren't asking about machines alone. We're asking about the essence of being alive. We're asking whether a mind must feel, or whether it only needs to function, whether understanding is required, or whether imitation is enough. As you relax deeper into your pillow, let this idea float lightly. Perhaps humans build robots not to create another mind, but to understand their own. By designing machines that walk, speak, or learn, we glimpse ourselves from the outside. We see how remarkable our own motions are, how delicate our balance is, how deep our emotions run, how quickly our thoughts flicker from one idea to the next. In creating robots, we hold up a mirror, not to compare, but to appreciate the quiet complexity of being human. Still, the question lingers, as gentle as a breeze passing through an open window. If a machine copies the steps of human thought, does it think? If it reacts to the world, does it understand? If it learns from experience, does it know? There is no need to answer tonight. These questions are soft puzzles, meant not to solve but to hold, like a smooth stone in your hand, comforting in its shape, familiar in its weight. This entire journey, across centuries of invention, across the evolution of robots from myth to metal, is tied to this single, glowing thread, the human desire to explore what the mind truly is. Not just the mind of a robot, but the mind within ourselves. As your breath slows, we step gently from the philosophical into the historical. The story of robots begins far before electricity, in times when imagination was the only technology the world had. Before we wander through centuries of invention, it helps to drift upward, far enough to see the whole journey at once, like gazing down on a winding river from a quiet hill. From this gentle height, the evolution of robots becomes a flowing timeline, a long ribbon of curiosity stretching from ancient myths to modern machines. Let your breath slow, matching the tranquil pace of this overview as we watch the river shimmer from source to horizon. The story begins in imagination. For thousands of years before gears or electricity, people pictured beings crafted from gold, clay, or stone that could rise and serve with unwavering dedication. These early dreams, found in legends across Greece, China, Japan, India, and beyond, formed the first sketches of artificial life. They were simple stories, yet they carried a profound desire to build something that moves without fatigue, that follows intention without question. As time gradually unfolded, humanity learned to shape metal, carve wood, and harness springs. In the Renaissance and early mechanical ages, craftsmen created elaborate automata, birds that flapped delicate metal wings, dancers made of gears, tiny mechanical marvels that hinted at a future not yet within reach. They weren't robots by today's definition, but they held the same heartbeat of wonder. Then the world changed. Steam, industry, electricity. Suddenly, human ambition expanded. Machines no longer stayed small. They grew stronger, larger, capable of lifting weight, shaping metal, powering factories. We began to imagine mechanical helpers, not just for play, but for work. These early machines were rigid and unseeing, but they were the first step toward true robotics. The 20th century introduced something new: control, circuits, sensors, intelligence in tiny pulses of electricity. Robots entered factories welding and assembling with precision humans had never witnessed. And while those early robots lacked awareness, they marked a shift from mechanical servants to computational partners, a shift that would change everything. As the decades passed, microprocessors shrank. Programming languages evolved and artificial intelligence awakened in quiet laboratories. Robots learned to process information, to map their environment, to react with unexpected finesse. Some learned to walk, balancing awkwardly at first, then moving with surprising grace. Others learned to grip objects gently, soft enough to hold a flower, steady enough to perform surgery. And then something new blossomed. Robots designed not just for strength or accuracy, but for connection. Social robots, companion robots, robots that understand tone, gesture, and emotion well enough to comfort, teach, or simply keep someone company. Robots entered homes, schools, hospitals, not just as tools, but as presences. The story continues as machines travel far beyond us, driving cars, exploring Mars, diving into the deep sea, mapping places where human lungs cannot breathe. Some robots move alone. Some move in swarms like tiny mechanical flocks. Others learn by experience, improving with every attempt, almost like young creatures discovering the world. And yet, through all this evolution, another thread remains: our reflection. Robots evolve as our questions evolve. They mirror our fears, our hopes, our need for connection, our fascination with intelligence itself. In watching them change, we learn about change within ourselves. As you lie here, letting your body sink deeper into comfort, imagine this entire journey as one long exhale. Soft, steady, timeless, from myth to mechanism, to mind-like intelligence. Tonight we'll explore each lantern along this path with patience and curiosity. Now, with the overview gently glowing behind us, we drift to our first true step through history, where ancient stories hinted at machines long before machines were real. Long before gears turned, long before electricity hummed, humanity imagined life that could be shaped by hand. In the deep quiet of ancient nights, under firelight and starlight, people whispered stories of beings crafted from metal, stone, or clay. Beings that stood somewhere between the living and the lifeless. These were the first robots, though no such word existed yet. They lived only in myth, but their presence lingered in the human imagination, like distant lanterns glowing across time. In ancient Greece, poets told tales of Talos, a gigantic bronze guardian forged by Hephaestus, the god of invention. Talos circled the island of Crete, his metallic footsteps echoing like slow thunder along the shore. In his body, molten metal flowed like blood. To imagine such a creature was to imagine motion without muscle, protection without breath. Even then, people sensed the possibility of artificial life. Far to the east, Chinese legends spoke of Yan Shi, a craftsman who created a fully articulated mechanical man. This mechanical figure could walk, bow, and move with uncanny realism. The ancient texts describe how the king, startled and fascinated, tested whether the creation was truly alive. When the automaton's components were revealed, heart, liver, bones made from wood and leather. The king realized he was witnessing a marvel of imagination and craftsmanship, not a living being. Yet the boundary between the two felt thin. Other stories drifted from Egypt, India, Japan. Stories of statues that spoke, guardians that moved, artificial beings animated by ritual or mystery. In each culture, mechanical life served as a metaphor for power, for creativity, for the unknown. These tales were not attempts to replace nature. Instead, they revealed a deep yearning to understand how motion, intention, and life could arise. As you breathe gently, imagine these myths as flickering shadows on the walls of a cave, early humans watching, wondering, dreaming of what might one day be possible. They didn't have metal factories or circuits, they had imagination. And imagination, like a quiet river, carved the first channel through which robotics would eventually flow. Centuries passed, but the dreams remained. Storytellers spoke of golems, clay figures brought to life with sacred words. They spoke of mechanical birds that sang, crafted by ancient artisans whose hands worked with patient devotion. Even though these tales often blended magic with machinery, they carried a common thread, the desire to create something that moves on its own. There is something profoundly human in this desire. Perhaps it comes from observing the world and marvelling at movement itself, the way leaves flutter, animals leap, children run, flames dance. Movement feels alive, and to replicate movement is to touch the edge of that aliveness, even if only for a moment. As you lie here, letting your breath settle into a slow rhythm, imagine the earliest inventors watching nature with quiet fascination. They saw the bending of branches, the beating of wings, the flow of rivers, and somewhere within that observation a thought emerged. What if we could capture motion? What if we could hold it in our hands? These early dreams were soft, vague, shaped more by myth than mechanism. But they formed the seed from which all future robots would grow. Before circuits, before metal frames, before algorithms and sensors, there was only imagination and the gentle belief that life, or something like it, could be built. From these ancient stories, we drift toward a time when imagination began to merge with artistry, when the first real mechanical being stepped into the world, guided by gears, springs, and human hands. Imagine a quiet workshop in the heart of the Renaissance. Sunlight spilling across wooden tables, the soft scent of oil and brass in the air, and the faint ticking of gears waiting to awaken. In this era of rediscovery and creativity, artisans began to shape metal and wood into forms that moved with astonishing grace. These were not robots as we know them, but they were the first true attempts to bring life to mechanism, clockwork companions animated by springs, gears, and the patient dreams of their creators. The Renaissance was a time when curiosity bloomed like 1,000 new flowers. Artists, scientists, and inventors no longer saw the world as fixed. They saw it as something to understand, to experiment with, to recreate. And nowhere was this spirit clearer than in the delicate craftsmanship of automata, mechanical beings designed to mimic life through careful engineering rather than myth or magic. One of the most famous visionaries of this era was Leonardo da Vinci. His notebooks, filled with looping sketches and quiet genius, described mechanical knights that could sit, stand, move their arms, and open their jaws. Though no complete machine from his hands survived the centuries, the ideas endured like faint constellations guiding future generations. Da Vinci imagined mechanisms not as rigid tools but as bodies, structures capable of fluid motion and lifelike presence. Across Europe, master clockmakers built intricate marvels, birds that fluttered metal wings, miniature musicians that lifted tiny arms to strike drums, dolls that turned their heads, blinked, or wrote with quills. These creations didn't think, they didn't perceive, but they enchanted. And enchantment is often the first step toward innovation. As your breath flows gently, picture a delicate mechanical bird resting on the palm of your hand. It feels cool, smooth, carefully crafted. A small key wins the spring in its belly. Then, as gears begin to tick softly, the bird moves, wings rising and falling, beak opening as music emerges from a hidden whistle. Tiny motions, but full of intention. In that moment, even centuries ago, people must have felt a breath of wonder. Is this life, or is this something new entirely? These automata were invitations to imagine. They hinted at a world where movement could be engineered, where animation need not rely on soul or myth. For the first time, motion itself became a craft, something that could be designed, tested, improved. Each mechanical creature was a lesson in physics, a conversation between artistry and mathematics, a bridge between beauty and precision. They also revealed something gentle about humanity, our love of creation, our desire for play, our fascination with imitation. Automata were often built not for labour or duty, but for delight. They performed in royal courts, startled guests at banquets, and demonstrated the delicate intelligence of artisans whose hands moved with quiet mastery. The Renaissance was a turning point because it shifted robotics from imagination into mechanism, from dream into artifact. The myths of moving statues had sparked the idea, but clockmakers and inventors began to make movement real, slow, mechanical, predictable, yet undeniable. As you settle deeper into stillness, imagine the world of that time: cobblestone streets, candlelit workshops, tools clinking softly as gears were filed into perfect shape. Every movement of those early creations carried the promise of more, the promise that one day machines might not just imitate life, but expand what life could be. From these early clockwork wonders, the path of robotics flowed onward, towards steam, industry, and the first machines built not for wonder alone, but for work. As the world drifted from the gentle artistry of the Renaissance into the roar of the Industrial Revolution, the story of machines changed. The soft ticking of clockwork companions gave way to a deeper, heavier rhythm. The thrum of steam engines, the clanging of factories, the steady heartbeat of pistons rising and falling. This was the moment when machines grew muscles, when movement shifted from delicate performance to powerful utility. Imagine the world around the early 1800s, smoke winding into grey skies, streets filled with carts and coal dust, workshops transforming into factories. The pace of life accelerating as new inventions reshaped entire cities. In that era, humans discovered something transformative. The energy stored in steam, pressure, and fuel could be converted into motion far stronger than any person could achieve alone. Machines no longer existed to entertain. They existed to build, to transport, to transform. As you breathe deeply, picture a massive steam engine resting in a quiet factory hall. Its iron belly glows with heat. Gears interlock like the bones of an enormous animal. When the engine exhales steam, the sound is deep and steady, like a giant breathing in slow, measured cycles. Workers watched these early machines with awe and apprehension. For the first time, they saw mechanical strength that surpassed human strength. This era marked a profound shift in how people imagined artificial life. Earlier automata were tiny performances, minute, elegant, precise. But industrial machines were something else entirely. They were strong. They could shape metal, cut stone, weave fabric, and move freight in ways impossible a century before. In their strength, they hinted at the idea that machines could become partners in labour. Robots, in the modern sense, had not yet appeared. But the foundation was being laid. The Industrial Revolution taught humanity that motion could be automated, that tasks could be repeated endlessly without fatigue, and that machines could change an entire society's rhythm. Factories became the early stage where humans and machines began working side by side, though the machines were still blind, unguided, and without awareness. Yet, even in their simplicity, these mechanical muscles stirred something deeper. They showed that machines could take on roles that once required whole teams of people. They also revealed the delicate dance between human ingenuity and human vulnerability. Machines made life easier, but they also brought questions about identity, labour, purpose, and the role of the human hand. As you lie in stillness, imagine the emotional landscape of that time. Workers standing beside contraptions louder and stronger than anything they had ever seen. Inventors realizing that mechanisms could scale, becoming larger, faster, more capable. And quietly, in the back of many minds, a question began to form. If machines can lift our burdens, what else might they one day be able to do? The Industrial Revolution didn't create robots, but it created the desire for them. It taught humanity that repetitive tasks could be mechanized, that strength could be manufactured, and that motion could be engineered with reliability. It awakened visions of machines that might one day act with precision, intention, even autonomy. Steam-powered looms, mechanical hammers, early conveyor systems. They were the first muscles of a mechanical world. But muscles alone are not enough. To become robots, machines would need something more: control, perception, awareness, and the ability to respond. Those abilities would come with electricity, with circuits, and with the first flickers of artificial intelligence. From this era of smoke and steel, the story flows forward to the moment when machines began to resemble the earliest versions of robots we know today. The 20th century arrived like a quiet dawn after a long night of industrial noise. Electricity hummed through cities, wires stretched across continents, and scientific curiosity deepened into something sharper, more precise. It was in this new light that the first true robots emerged, not mythical beings, not clockwork toys, not steam-powered giants, but actual mechanical workers capable of performing tasks with predictable, repetitive precision. Machines with intention built into their movements. Machines that mark the beginning of a new era. As you breathe slowly in and out, imagine stepping into a factory in the early 1960s. The air smells faintly of oil and metal. The lights are harsh, but steady. Along the assembly floor, workers move with practiced rhythm. And beside them stands something strange. A mechanical arm, tall and rigid, bolted to the floor like a metallic tree trunk. It moves not with grace, but with certainty. Lifting, rotating, placing, repeating. It never hesitates, never tires, never deviates. This was Unimate, the first industrial robot to enter mass production. A moment often considered the true birth of modern robotics. Unimate could pick up hot metal pieces and stack them with absolute precision, performing a task too dangerous and exhausting for human hands. Watching it work must have felt surreal, as if the world had taken a step into a future that had lived only in science fiction. Unlike the decorative automata of the Renaissance or the roaring engines of the Industrial Revolution, these early robots were designed with purpose rather than spectacle. They didn't sing, dance, or imitate life. They served. They repeated. They embodied reliability, quiet, uncomplaining, steady. Their movements were limited, their intelligence minimal. But they represented something profound, the idea that machines could perform human tasks autonomously. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine the first engineers who stood beside these robotic arms. They knew they were witnessing a shift in the nature of work itself. A new partnership was forming, humans offering guidance, machines offering endurance. This collaboration raised hopes, sparked fears, and drew questions that still echo today. What role do humans play when machines can work without rest? What does it mean to share a workspace with something that cannot feel? Yet, these early robots were far from the versatile, expressive machines we envision today. They didn't walk, they didn't speak, they didn't see the world. Their movements followed strict instructions, exact coordinates programmed into their metallic joints. They were predictable but blind, strong but unaware, helpful but limited. Still, there was beauty in their simplicity, the way they moved with unwavering precision, the way they performed tasks with gentle efficiency, the way their presence signalled the beginning of a new chapter in human invention, one defined not by myth or metaphor but by engineering and possibility. These early robots paved the way for everything to come. They taught us that machines could share space with us, assist us, and expand what human hands could accomplish. They also taught us about the limitations of pure mechanical strength. For robots to evolve, they needed senses, awareness, intelligence, the ability to interact with the world, not just follow rigid commands. And so, the story flowed onward, from rigid arms to flexible sensors, from blind automation to perceptive machines capable of understanding their surroundings. The next chapter in this journey begins with a simple, powerful idea. If a robot is to work in our world, it must be able to sense it. Long before robots filled factories or wandered distant planets, the word robot itself was born on a quiet stage, not in a laboratory, not in a workshop, but in a theatre, under warm lights, before an audience watching a story unfold. It is a reminder that robotics, at its heart, is not only an engineering journey, but also a narrative one, a story humans have been telling themselves long before the machines existed. The year was 1920. In the city of Prague, playwright Karel Čapek prepared to debut a new drama titled RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots. The play imagined artificial workers, created to serve humanity tirelessly until the story bends toward rebellion and reflection. These beings were not metallic or mechanical. They were more like biological constructs, closer to artificial humans than to machines. But the idea they represented was unmistakably modern, the creation of labourers who could replace human hands. Although Karel Čapek wrote the play, it was his brother, Joseph Čapek, who offered the word that would change history. Robot, derived from the Czech word robota, meaning forced labour or servitude. With a single syllable, the world gained a new term for artificial workers, one that carried echoes of obligation, service and burden. As you breathe softly, imagine the quiet ripple that name sent through culture. Before the word robot existed, the idea of artificial assistance was scattered across myth and invention. But naming something gives it shape. It turns a dream into a concept. It becomes a point of focus, a lens through which the world can imagine future possibilities. Robot. Short, firm, almost mechanical in its sound. A word that feels deliberate, functional, and slightly mysterious. When audiences first heard it spoken on stage, the idea must have felt both familiar and unsettling. Familiar because humans had always imagined artificial beings. Unsettling because the word framed them not as wonders, but as workers, tools, servants, creations designed to perform the tasks humans preferred to avoid. The play RUR itself raised questions still relevant today. What happens when we create beings capable of replacing us? How do we define the boundary between tool and life? What responsibility do creators bear toward their creations? These questions drift through time like soft echoes, shaping the conversations we have about robots even now. And though the robots in Čapek's story were biological rather than mechanical, the idea they embodied took root. It shaped the imagination of scientists, filmmakers, and inventors. The word robot became a guiding star for innovation, compact, evocative, and filled with possibility. As you settle into deeper comfort, imagine how powerful a single word can be. how it can gather countless ideas, hopes, and fears under one umbrella. The moment the word robot came into existence, people began to imagine not just automata or machines, but something more intentional, entities designed with purpose, shape, and identity. The birth of the word marks a turning point in our journey, because language often precedes invention. Words create mental landscapes where ideas can grow, and as the word robot spread across the world, it inspired innovators to dream beyond the mechanical toys of the Renaissance and the massive engines of the Industrial Revolution. Soon, engineers and designers began to imagine machines that could truly work, react, and assist. Machines guided not just by force, but by control. Machines that could reshape the nature of labour and cooperation. From the spark of a single word, the next era began. An era when robots stepped from story into reality. When the first robots stepped into factories, they did not arrive with fanfare or spectacle. They didn't resemble the imaginative figures from science fiction or the expressive beings from the stage. They appeared quietly, made of steel and wires, bolted firmly to the ground. Their presence was practical, almost humble. Yet this quiet arrival marked one of the most significant turning points in technological history, a point where human labour and machine labour began to intertwine in ways never seen before. As you breathe slowly, imagine yourself standing on the floor of an early robotic factory. The air is dense and warm, filled with the faint hum of electricity and the rhythmic knock of metal on metal. Conveyor belts glide steadily like streams of moving parts, and beside them, robotic arms rise and fall with smooth, unwavering precision. Their movements are repetitive but deliberate, lifting components, rotating them into place, welding them with sparks that glow like brief flashes of starlight. These robotic arms, descendants of the first Unimate, were built for a single purpose: to do one task perfectly, endlessly. They weren't built to think or decide. They followed their programming with calm determination, repeating the same arc, the same lift, the same placement, thousands of times without fatigue. In their reliability, factories found transformation. Robots could work in extreme heat, handle hazardous materials, and lift weights beyond human capabilities. They simplified dangerous processes. They standardized complex ones. And while early robots lacked awareness, their presence held a kind of mechanical grace, a steady rhythm that shaped the heartbeat of modern manufacturing. As you sink deeper into stillness, imagine how workers must have felt seeing these new mechanical companions. Some watched with fascination, recognizing the brilliance in their design. Others felt uncertainty, wondering how this new presence would reshape the meaning of work. Not all responses were the same, but one thing was unmistakably clear. The world had entered an era where machines could share human tasks. Robots in factories signalled a shift in identity for both humans and machines. For machines, it was a step toward autonomy, not emotional autonomy, but functional autonomy. They no longer needed constant human steering. They could follow instructions as faithfully as clockwork, yet adapt to different movements through programming. It was the first whisper of robotic versatility. For humans, this shift offered relief and reflection. Relief, because dangerous and exhausting tasks could now be handled by mechanical hands. Reflection, because it invited deeper questions. What tasks are uniquely human? What is the value of creativity, judgment, intuition? In this way, robots didn't diminish human identity, they highlighted it. They made us consider what aspects of our intelligence were irreplaceable. They revealed the subtle beauty of human hands, the nuance of human decisions, the irreplaceable warmth of human presence. Even in their simplicity, factory robots became essential partners. They formed the backbone of industries from automotive manufacturing to electronics, enabling advances that would ripple outward into every corner of modern life. They made products more accessible, safer to build, and more consistent in quality. And yet, for all their importance, these robots were still missing something crucial. They worked in fixed patterns. They couldn't see or feel what was around them. They required carefully controlled environments to function. They were powerful, but blind. To move further, to step beyond rigid automation, robots needed a new kind of ability. They needed perception, awareness, the capacity to sense the world through sight, touch, temperature, and motion. The next chapter in the evolution of robots begins with that simple but transformative concept: a machine that can sense. Before robots could truly evolve, they needed more than strength, repetition, and electrical pulses. They needed the ability to sense the world around them, to gather information, to respond with nuance, to adjust their movements based on what they encountered. Without perception, a robot is only a script. With perception, it becomes a presence. This moment, when sensors entered the story, was the quiet awakening of robotic awareness. As you settle your breath into a soft, steady rhythm, imagine a robot arm from the early factory era. It performs its motion perfectly, but blindly. If an object is slightly misplaced, it won't notice. If the environment changes, it won't adapt. Its world is a narrow line of instructions. It doesn't see, hear, or feel. It simply follows. Now imagine placing a single sensor on that same robotic arm, a small device, barely larger than a button. When the robot approaches an object, the sensor detects distance. When the object shifts slightly, the robot adjusts. When the environment changes, the robot adapts. With one tiny addition, the machine gains something almost magical: awareness of variation. Sensors came in many forms, each one unlocking a new dimension of perception. Light sensors allowed robots to detect brightness and presence. Infrared sensors measured distance. Pressure sensors allowed robots to grip objects without crushing them. Temperature sensors protected them from overheating. Gyroscopes and accelerometers helped them maintain balance. Cameras, primitive at first, gave robots a new kind of vision. Suddenly, robots could do more than follow a path. They could react to it. As you exhale gently, imagine a robot with a tactile sensor in its fingers. When it picks up a fragile object, the sensor whispers feedback into its circuitry. The robot loosens its grip, cradling the object with care. Though the robot does not feel softness the way humans do, it reads it. It responds to it. And in this response, a new kind of intelligence is born. Not emotional intelligence, but functional intelligence rooted in perception. Sensors transformed robots from heavy, rigid tools into flexible assistants. They could now help sort delicate items, assist in laboratories, navigate uneven terrain, and avoid obstacles. They became partners not just in strength, but in precision. With sensors, robots entered spaces they previously could not. Hospitals, clean rooms, homes. They learned to vacuum floors, guide surgical instruments, and carry out tasks where accuracy mattered more than force. Sensors became the bridge that allowed machines to move from industrial settings into the human world. And quietly, this shift raised profound questions. What separates perception from consciousness? If a robot can sense the world, does it understand it? If it can adjust based on feedback, is that a form of learning or merely advanced reflex? These questions linger softly, like ripples spreading across a calm lake. Answers may come in time, but for now it's enough to marvel at the simplicity of the transformation. To sense is to begin relating to the world, and robots, once blind, were beginning to perceive the shapes, distances, and textures that surrounded them. Sensors didn't give robots emotion. They didn't give them thought. But they gave them contact, a connection to the physical world that turned repetition into interaction. They allowed robots to navigate, adapt, and collaborate. They gave machines a form of presence, and presence is the first step toward deeper autonomy. Now that robots could sense, the next evolution emerged naturally. They needed something to process those sensations. They needed faster, smaller, more capable minds. And so, the story flows onward, toward microprocessors and the digital awakening that reshaped everything. Before microprocessors arrived, robots could sense the world, light, distance, pressure, but they reacted slowly through bulky circuits and carefully wired boards. Their thoughts, if we can call them that, moved like molasses, limited by the size and speed of the technology controlling them. But then something extraordinary happened. The computer shrank, logic condensed, and intelligence became small enough to fit inside the heart of a machine. As you breathe gently, imagine holding an early microprocessor in your palm. It is light, thin, so small you could almost overlook it. Yet within that sliver of silicon rests the capacity to perform thousands, then millions, and eventually billions of operations every second. The difference between mechanical repetition and responsive autonomy is contained within this quiet, delicate chip. When microprocessors entered robotics in the late 20th century, the shift was almost immediate. Robots no longer depended on huge rooms of machinery to process information. Their brains could fit inside their bodies. They could evaluate sensor data, make simple decisions, and adjust behavior moment by moment. Instead of following rigid routines, they could adapt. They could process uncertainty. They could move through a world that wasn't perfectly controlled. This was the digital awakening, a new era where robots gained speed, flexibility, and a kind of mechanical intuition. Imagine a warehouse robot rolling along a corridor. Before microprocessors, it would follow a line on the floor, unable to deviate even slightly. But now, with small onboard computers, it can detect obstacles, reroute its path, and coordinate with other robots nearby. The machine isn't conscious, but it is responsive. It behaves less like a scripted puppet and more like a participant in its environment. As your breath settles into a slow, calming wave. Imagine how profound this shift felt to engineers at the time. For centuries, humans shaped tools, but microprocessors created tools that could shape their own actions. Robots could now analyze data in real time, respond to moving objects, learn instructions stored in memory, coordinate with timing far faster than human reflexes, execute complex and multi-step routines. The world of robotics blossomed. Robots could sort packages, assemble electronics, inspect machinery, navigate uneven floors, and work alongside humans with surprising precision. For the first time, robots were no longer isolated behind cages in factories. They could share space with us, move around us, assist us. Microprocessors also opened the door to ideas that once belonged only to science fiction. If intelligence could be stored in silicon and improved year after year, what might robots eventually become? Could they reason? Could they learn? Could they understand patterns too complex for human minds? These questions, soft and shimmering like moonlight on water, drift with us even now. Yet the beauty of microprocessors is not in the speculation, they are elegant in the present moment. They allowed robots to gain timing, coordination, speed, and adaptability. They compressed thought into something portable and efficient. They turned robots from predictable machines into flexible systems, capable of navigating dynamic worlds. A robot with a microprocessor does not think the way we do. It does not form memories in a human sense. But it acts with precision that feels almost alive. It responds with a mechanical grace, born from electricity flowing through pathways etched thinner than a strand of hair. From these tiny processors, the next evolution began almost inevitably. The idea that robots might not only process instructions, but learn from them, improve, adapt, make decisions based on experience. As microprocessors open the door to digital intelligence, the next chapter introduced something even more transformative: artificial intelligence, the gentle spark that allowed robots to think beyond their programming. There is a quiet moment in the evolution of robots when something subtle yet profound begins to awaken. Not life, not consciousness, but a new kind of capability. Robots move from simply reacting to interpreting, from following steps to choosing steps. This moment is the dawn of artificial intelligence, the era when machines learned not only to sense but also to decide. As you breathe slowly, imagine a robot standing in an empty room. Before AI, this robot could only act if given exact commands. Every movement had to be mapped, every rule precisely defined. But with artificial intelligence, the robot can observe the room, identify objects, understand what it sees, and select an action. It is not alive, it does not feel, but it can think. Computationally, logically, rapidly. AI didn't arrive all at once. It emerged gradually, like the sky brightening before sunrise. Early versions were simple algorithms that allowed robots to recognize patterns or follow rules in more flexible ways. But even these small improvements felt revolutionary. Suddenly, robots could identify objects through cameras, navigate rooms without human guidance, recognize spoken commands, plan simple sequences of actions, adjust behavior based on feedback. What was once rigid became fluid. What was once scripted became adaptive. As your breath moves like a gentle tide, imagine the first mobile robots navigating hallways in research labs. Before AI, such movement would require carefully controlled tracks or lines on the floor. But with AI, robots could map their surroundings, avoid obstacles, and find their destination independently. They built small models of the world inside their processors, tiny internal maps that changed as they moved. AI also introduced the idea of learning. Robots no longer had to rely solely on instructions. They could refine their behavior through experience. A robotic arm could practice picking up objects, adjusting its grip with each attempt. A robot vacuum could explore a home and remember the layout. A self-driving prototype could observe thousands of driving scenarios and improve its responses. Though these capabilities seem ordinary today, they represented something extraordinary, the beginning of robotic intelligence that was not handcrafted by human programmers but shaped by data. Yet, as AI advanced, it brought new questions with it, questions that move softly through our thoughts like drifting clouds. If a robot learns, does it understand? If it adapts, does it perceive meaning? If it chooses, is that choice its own? These questions remind us that intelligence is layered. Human intelligence comes with emotion, memory, experience, and awareness. Robotic intelligence, no matter how sophisticated, remains fundamentally different. It is computational, logical, structured. A robot can distinguish a chair from a table, but it cannot feel comfort. It can identify a person, but it cannot understand presence. It can navigate a crowd, but it cannot sense empathy. Yet there is beauty in this difference. Robots think in ways we do not. They perceive patterns we cannot detect. They make decisions in fractions of a second. They assist, enhance, and support, offering strengths that complement our own. The age of AI marks the moment when robots stepped into roles that require more than strength or repetition. They became assistants in laboratories, explorers in hazardous environments, guides in complex systems. They entered our homes, our hospitals, our daily routines. And with each step, they grew more capable of navigating the world beside us, thinking without being alive, responding without feeling, interpreting without dreaming. From this awakening of robotic intelligence, a new challenge emerged, teaching robots to move through the world with a body that mirrors our own. The next chapter brings us to robots learning one of the most human actions, the ability to walk. Walking is one of the quietest miracles of being human. Each step involves balance, momentum, instinct, and countless tiny adjustments made without conscious thought. To walk is to fall forward and catch yourself, again and again, with effortless grace. And because it feels so natural to us, early roboticists believed it would be simple to replicate. But they soon discovered something humbling. To teach a machine to walk is to teach it a language written into the bones and muscles of evolution. As you breathe softly, imagine a bipedal robot standing for the first time in a quiet laboratory. Its metallic legs are straight, rigid, unaccustomed to movement. Engineers watch closely, holding their breath, waiting for a motion that seems so easy for humans yet so incredibly difficult for machines. Then the robot shifts its weight, just slightly, and begins to wobble. Maintaining balance, something even a toddler can do, is a complex symphony of forces, angles, and micro-corrections. In the early days, robots designed to walk looked awkward and slow. Their steps were stiff, their posture uncertain. Each movement required detailed calculation. If a foot landed just a bit too far or too close, the whole machine could tip. Even a small pebble or uneven surface could disrupt everything. To overcome these challenges, roboticists introduced advanced sensors, gyroscopes, and accelerometers, tiny tools that allowed robots to sense balance, tilt, and motion. With these new senses, bipedal robots learned not just to stand, but to take small, trembling steps, and then longer ones. Their movements were still mechanical, but they carried the first hints of rhythm. In these early strides, something remarkable happened. Machines began to explore the world with legs, just as living creatures had done for millions of years. As your breath flows gently, imagine the robot slowly crossing a room. The whir of motors hums softly, a quiet counterpoint to its careful progress. Its feet touch the ground with deliberate precision. Each step is a negotiation between gravity and control. It doesn't walk like a human, but it walks, and that alone is extraordinary. Then came the breakthroughs that made bipedal locomotion feel more natural. Engineers studied animals, athletes, dancers. They analysed how humans shift their hips, how the spine absorbs impact, how our arms swing to maintain balance. Little by little, robots learn to mimic these motions. Not perfectly, but gracefully enough to move with newfound confidence. Some robots learn to climb stairs, others learn to run, a few learn to jump, turn, or recover from a stumble. As algorithms improved, robots could predict how their bodies would move, adjusting in real time to maintain equilibrium. With each advancement, robots came closer to understanding a core truth. Walking is not just movement, it is controlled falling, a dance between instability and recovery. These robots, though still mechanical, taught us something profound about ourselves. They showed us how complex our natural abilities truly are. They revealed the hidden intelligence within every step we take. And in their journey, they mirrored our own slow, patient evolution across millions of years. Even now, watching a bipedal robot walk carries a quiet sense of wonder. It is a reminder that movement is both simple and miraculous, that even machines must learn balance, rhythm, and grace. But walking was only the beginning. Once robots could stand and move through space, engineers asked an even deeper question. What if robots could use their hands with the same care and delicacy as their feet? And so the story flows toward dexterity, toward hands that could hold not only tools but fragile things. There is something quietly beautiful about a hand, not just its shape but its intention. The way it knows how to hold a fragile object, how to grip firmly without harm, how to feel texture, temperature, and weight. Human hands are instruments of intuition. They sculpt, soothe, repair, explore. So when engineers set out to give robots their own hands, they faced one of the most delicate challenges in the entire history of robotics: teaching a machine the art of gentle touch. As you breathe slowly, imagine a robotic hand resting on a table. Its metal or polymer fingers are motionless at first, each joint designed to bend with precision. In early prototypes, these fingers were stiff, capable of gripping but not sensing. They could pick up objects, but only with force, too much force. A robot without touch can hold a tool, but it cannot hold something fragile. It does not know the difference between a glass cup and a steel bar. It grips them both the same. Engineers quickly realized that strength alone was not enough. A hand is not simply a mechanism for grasping, it is an organ of perception. So they began embedding sensors into robotic fingertips. Little pressure pads, micro cameras, thin layers that changed resistance when touched. With these additions, something subtle awakened. Robots learned to feel the world, not through nerves, but through delicate measurements of force and friction. Now imagine a robot reaching toward a flower, a soft, bright bloom, its petals thin as breath, its stem tender and easily bent. Without sensors, the robot would crush it. But with feedback flowing through its fingertips, the robot adjusts. Its grip loosens, millimeter by millimeter, until the pressure is just right. It lifts the flower, holding it with surprising tenderness. The robot does not appreciate the beauty of the flower, but it understands the fragility of the object in its grasp. This ability, this mechanical gentleness, opened doors to new worlds. Robots could assist in surgeries, where precision is as important as softness. They could assemble tiny electronic parts with accuracy, beyond the capabilities of human hands. They could help researchers handle delicate samples in laboratories, and for the first time, robots began performing tasks that required more than strength. They required judgment. As your body sinks deeper into relaxation, imagine the robot hand learning through trial and error. Too tight, too loose, too fast, too slow. Each attempt teaches the system something new, refining its movement the way a musician refines touch on the strings of an instrument. Dexterity becomes a conversation between sensors and algorithms, a dance between perception and control. These advances also highlighted the profound complexity of human hands. Every finger, every muscle, every subtle pressure we apply is the result of millions of years of evolution. Watching robots learn to imitate these abilities offers a soft reminder of how intricate our bodies are. How a simple gesture, like picking up a leaf or holding a friend's hand, contains a universe of physics and biology. And yet, even as robots gained dexterity, something remained unchanged. They could hold a flower, but they could not feel its softness. They could manipulate objects with care, but they could not appreciate the sensation. They could balance, adjust, and adapt. But emotion remained an empty space within their circuitry. Still, the ability to hold fragile objects transformed robotics forever. It allowed machines to work beside us, not just in places of heavy labor, but in spaces that required nuance, precision, and trust. With hands capable of gentle touch, robots were ready to take on a new kind of role, one not defined by work alone, but by interaction. And soon, a new category of robots emerged, machines designed not just to perform tasks, but to communicate, comfort, and connect. There comes a moment in the evolution of robots when their purpose begins to expand. After learning to lift, walk, and hold fragile objects, engineers wondered, what if robots could also respond to us? Not just to our environment or our commands, but to our presence. This gentle question gave rise to a new kind of machine, one shaped not by the demands of industry, but by the rhythms of human interaction. These were social robots, created not to build or transport, but to connect. As your breathing settles into a slow, calming wave, imagine a small robot sitting quietly in the corner of a room. It has soft, rounded edges and a pair of expressive eyes. simple, digital shapes glowing like warm lanterns. When you step closer, the robot turns toward you, not because it feels curiosity, but because its sensors detect movement and its algorithms interpret the gesture as an invitation. Its response is gentle, intentional, almost alive. These early social robots were designed to interact through gaze, speech, and movement. They didn't understand emotion, but they recognized patterns, smiles, tone of voice, hesitation. They followed social cues not through intuition but through data. Yet the effect was surprisingly comforting. Robots like Paro, the therapeutic seal, were used in hospitals and care homes. Soft, warm, and responsive. Paro nuzzled into the hands of patients, offering companionship where loneliness often settled. It blinked slowly, made soothing sounds, and reacted to touch. It was not alive, but its presence eased anxiety and brought calmness, proof that comfort can come from unexpected places. Then came robots like Jibbo and Pepper, machines capable of turning their heads, expressing delight through animations or responding with playful gestures. They weren't perfect. Their interactions were simple, but they represented the beginning of a new relationship between humans and machines, one built on communication rather than commands. As you drift deeper into stillness, imagine one of these robots in a classroom. Children gather around asking questions. The robot answers with patience that never wavers. It doesn't grow tired. It doesn't become frustrated. It simply continues, offering information, encouragement, or gentle guidance. Small moments of connection, repeated day after day. What makes social robots special is not intelligence. It is intention. They are designed to be companions, not tools. Their shapes are soft and friendly, their movements slow and inviting, their voices warm, calm, and non-threatening. Engineers realize that human beings respond to posture, gesture, and eye contact, even when they come from machines. And so, they designed robots that navigate those subtle social spaces. Yet these robots remind us of something deeper. Communication is not just about emotion. It is also about predictability, presence, and rhythm. Social robots excel at those qualities. They listen consistently. They respond reliably. They show up the same way every time. This steadiness can feel comforting, especially in environments where calmness and reliability are needed. As robots learned to interact socially, they highlighted something profound about humanity. Our innate desire to be seen, heard, and responded to, even by a machine. But social robots also brought new questions. If a robot comforts someone, is the comfort real? If a robot listens, does the listener feel understood? If companionship can be simulated, does the simulation matter if it brings peace? These questions linger softly, but they do not diminish the gentle role social robots play. They were never intended to replace human relationships. Instead, they fill small spaces where companionship is needed. Quiet moments, isolated environments, tasks where patience matters more than complexity. The rise of social robots showed that machines could interact with humanity not just through labor or precision, but through presence. And as they spread into schools, hospitals, and homes, the next frontier of robotics began to open. Robots that could explore not just human spaces but the far edges of the world itself. There is a kind of bravery that belongs only to machines, quiet, tireless, uncomplaining. While humans dream of distant worlds and unseen oceans, robots are the ones who go first. They explore the places our lungs cannot breathe, our bones cannot withstand, and our minds can only imagine. They travel into extreme cold, crushing pressure, endless darkness, or the silent openness of space. And in their journeys, they expand our understanding of the universe, step by mechanical step. As your breath settles into a gentle rhythm, imagine a lone rover on the surface of Mars. The sky is dusty and rust-coloured. The horizon stretches endlessly. The cold is sharper than anything life on Earth can endure. And yet, in this harsh landscape, a small robot rolls forward, its wheels pressing delicate patterns into alien soil. It moves slowly, thoughtfully, guided by signals from a world millions of kilometers away. Robots like spirit, opportunity, curiosity, and perseverance have become more than machines. They are explorers, extensions of human curiosity carried across the void of space. They take samples, photograph distant horizons, and study the ancient stories written into Martian rock. Their movements are steady, deliberate, and profoundly courageous. Though they have no pulse, their journeys feel alive. Now imagine drifting downward instead of outward, into the deep sea, where sunlight fades into darkness and pressure rises to crushing levels. Here too, robots venture where humans cannot. Machines like ROVs and AUVs slide through cold black water, their lights cutting soft beams across the ocean floor. They discover shipwrecks untouched for centuries, glowing creatures that drift through the dark like stars, and volcanic vents where life thrives in conditions once thought impossible. They glide with quiet dignity, their metal shells resisting forces that would collapse a human vessel instantly. These explorers, both cosmic and aquatic, show us something profound, that discovery does not always require a beating heart. Sometimes discovery requires endurance, patience, and the ability to survive in environments too extreme for our fragile bodies. As you exhale slowly, imagine one more scene. A robot descending into a cave beneath the Antarctic ice. Thick sheets of frozen water seal the world above. Below, liquid pools stretch in hidden chambers untouched by sunlight. The robot moves carefully, scanning, sampling, recording. In these silent depths, its presence is the only motion. Its sensors are the only eyes. Robots that explore extreme environments remind us that our planet and our universe are far more vast and mysterious than anything we see in daily life. They act as our ambassadors in places where we cannot stand. They gather knowledge not for themselves but for us, carrying back data the way an ancient messenger carried scrolls across dangerous lands. But their journeys also inspire a quiet reflection. What does it mean to explore? Is exploration about footsteps, or about curiosity? About presence, or about understanding? Robots show us that exploration is not just a physical act, it's an extension of wonder, a desire to know what lies beyond the next ridge, beneath the next wave, inside the next cavern. Whether driven by signals from Earth or guided by onboard intelligence, robots explore with steady devotion. They remind us that even in the vastness of space, even in the deepest oceans, humanity's reach continues to expand, not through conquest, but through curiosity, through gentle persistence, through machines that carry our questions farther than we could ever go alone. And as robots venture into places that challenge the limits of nature, a new idea begins to take shape. What if robots could work not alone, but together? What if many machines could move with a shared intelligence like flocks or waves? This thought leads us toward the next evolution in robotics, the era of coordinated motion, collective intelligence, and the beauty of many minds moving as one. There is a quiet poetry in collective motion. Flocks of birds drifting across the sky in fluid arcs. Schools of fish weaving through deep water with effortless unity. Colonies of ants navigating forests of towering grass, each one small, yet together forming something vast and intelligent. Nature has always understood the power of the swarm, and as robotics evolved, engineers began to wonder, could machines move this way too? Many bodies, one intention, many minds, one harmony. As your breath flows like a soft tide, imagine a group of tiny robots, no larger than small toys resting on a table. At first they are still, small pieces of metal and plastic, but then, all at once, they begin to move. Not in chaos, but in formation. Each robot senses the others. Each one adjusts its path by a few centimeters, and slowly they glide into patterns, shapes, spirals, lines that ripple across the surface like mechanical choreography. This is swarm robotics, a field inspired by the elegant intelligence found in nature's collective beings. Unlike a single advanced robot, a swarm is built from many simple ones. Each robot knows only a little. Each sees only a small part of the world, but together they form a system capable of extraordinary feats. Early swarms learned to navigate obstacles as a group. If one robot encountered a barrier, it shared the information through wireless signals. Others adapted instantly. The swarm didn't panic, it reorganized. It flowed around the obstacle like water around a stone. With simple rules: maintain distance, follow neighbors, avoid collisions, complex behavior emerged naturally. As you relax deeper into stillness, imagine a swarm of flying robots, small, quiet drones, lifting gently into the evening air. They move like a flock, drifting in coordinated curves. Each drone stabilizes itself, senses wind shifts, watches for others, and adjusts. The effect is mesmerizing. A sky filled with motion that feels alive, but made only of machines following simple instructions. No single drone is the leader. The intelligence is shared, diffused, collective. Swarm robotics offers strengths that solitary robots cannot. A swarm can explore large areas quickly, each unit covering a small region, until maps merge into a complete picture. A swarm can search for survivors in disaster zones, tiny robots slipping into spaces too small or dangerous for humans. A swarm can plant seeds across damaged landscapes, monitor crop health, or inspect bridges and buildings with unmatched efficiency. Even if one robot fails, the swarm continues. It is resilience through multiplicity. This idea, many minds moving as one, raises gentle reflections about intelligence itself. Is intelligence always centralized? Or can it be distributed, shared across many simple parts? Is a colony of ants one mind or thousands? Is a swarm of robots a single system or many individuals? These questions float around us like drifting feathers, light, soft, not meant to weigh down the mind. They remind us that intelligence can take many shapes. Some minds are complex and singular, others emerge from connection, cooperation, and subtle communication. Swarm robotics also mirrors something quiet within humanity. We too form patterns together. Cities, cultures, movements, shared ideas. Even without perfect coordination, our lives intersect and react in ways that create something larger than ourselves. Robotic swarms embody this principle mechanically. They show how simple rules, communicate, coordinate, adapt, can create lifelike flow. And as these swarms evolve, their potential grows wider, touching fields from agriculture to environmental healing, from search and rescue to space exploration. Imagine hundreds of tiny robots exploring the surface of another planet. Not one rover, but an entire mechanical ecosystem learning and mapping together. From the harmony of robotic swarms, we now drift toward another field where robots have become vital partners, medicine. A place where delicate hands and steady motion can change, protect, and even save lives. There are few places where precision matters more than in medicine. A single millimeter can mean the difference between harm and healing. A single tremor can change the course of a patient's life. And so, as robotics evolved, a new kind of machine emerged, one defined not by strength or exploration, but by steadiness, by delicate control, by the ability to move with a calmness that even human hands cannot always achieve. These are medical robots, partners in healing whose quiet precision expands what is possible in the operating room and beyond. As you breathe softly, Imagine an operating room filled with warm, diffused light. The air is still, the space carefully arranged. In the centre stands a robotic surgical system, sleek, steady, composed of articulated arms that pivot with effortless smoothness. Each arm moves slowly, deliberately, guided by a surgeon seated nearby. The machine does not replace the surgeon. Instead, it becomes an extension of the surgeon's intention, a tool of enhanced precision. Robotic surgical systems like the well-known Da Vinci robot allow surgeons to operate with movements that are magnified, refined, and filtered through technology. A surgeon's natural tremors, tiny, almost invisible, are softened by the machine. Motions become steadier than a heartbeat. Instruments reach places too small for human fingers. What was once invasive becomes minimally invasive. Healing becomes gentler. Imagine the robot's instruments moving inside the body, threading between tissues, guided by high-resolution cameras. The robot sees more clearly than the human eye, its lenses capturing details that would otherwise be hidden. The surgeon watches through the machine's view, every motion transformed into something calmer, more controlled. Together, human intention and robotic steadiness become a single coordinated dance. Beyond surgery, medical robots assist in many quiet ways. Some help with rehabilitation, guiding patients through precise movements to rebuild strength. Others deliver medications in hospitals, rolling down corridors with patient-predictable grace. A few assist in diagnostics, navigating imaging equipment with exact alignment, and in labs across the world, robots handle delicate biological samples, pipetting, sorting, sequencing, with a patience no human could sustain for hours on end. As your breath drifts like a slow tide, imagine a tiny robot designed to travel through the bloodstream, small enough to move inside vessels, guided through magnetic fields or micromotors. These early prototypes represent dreams as delicate as they are ambitious. Machines that could one day treat disease from the inside, repairing the body with microscopic precision. They are not science fiction anymore, they are beginnings. What makes medical robots remarkable is not just their capability, it is their restraint. Their purpose is not to replace human care but to enhance it, to give doctors steadier hands, to give patients gentler healing, to give hospitals tools that make treatment more consistent and safer. And yet, beneath all the technical wonder, medical robots revealed something soft about humanity, our desire to protect life, to lessen pain, to offer comfort, to explore the boundaries of healing with compassion and precision intertwined. These machines, though emotionless, carry within them the intentions of the people who built them. Engineers, doctors, scientists, each one contributing to a future where treatment becomes more precise and less invasive. Medical robots may not feel empathy, but they are shaped by it. From these steady mechanical hands, the evolution of robotics takes another step. If robots can learn to assist in healing, could they also learn to refine their own abilities? Could they become learners, improving through experience with a kind of mechanical intuition? This leads us into the next chapter, robots that are not simply programmed but taught. Robots that learn not through instruction alone, but through repetition, practice, and adaptation. There is a gentle beauty in learning, a slow unfolding from inexperience to understanding. Humans learn through repetition, through mistakes, through moments of trial and discovery. And as robotics advanced, engineers wondered, could machines learn in their own way too? Could a robot refine its abilities not through new instructions but through experience? This question marked the beginning of learning robots, machines that grow more capable the more they practice. As you breathe softly, imagine a robotic arm standing in a quiet laboratory. On the table before it sits a small block. The robot's task is simple. Pick up the block and move it to the other side of the table. The first attempt is clumsy. The robot misjudges the angle. its fingers closing slightly too soon. The block slips. The attempt fails. But the robot records the moment. Every pressure reading, every angle, every tiny discrepancy between intention and result. Then it tries again, and again, and again. Each attempt is a gentle adjustment of understanding. No frustration, no disappointment. Just iteration. Steady, patient, mechanical. After hundreds of attempts, the robot succeeds with fluid precision. What once felt uncertain becomes reliable. This is learning, not through consciousness, but through patterns and refinement. These learning robots use algorithms inspired by biology, reinforcement learning, neural networks, imitation learning. Instead of being told exactly how to act, they are given goals and taught to explore paths toward achieving them. They receive digital rewards when they succeed, gentle nudges toward better strategies. Over time, they develop movements that even programmers did not explicitly design. As you sink deeper into stillness, imagine a robot learning to walk in a simulation. In the virtual world, the robot attempts step after step, thousands of tries in seconds. It falls, tumbles, sways, but each digital stumble teaches it something new. When the learned motions are transferred into a real robot, something remarkable happens. It can walk with surprising confidence because it has already lived lifetimes of practice inside the simulation. Learning robots also excel in environments that change unpredictably. A household robot might learn where objects usually are. A warehouse robot might optimize its routes over time. A sorting robot might develop faster ways to organize items simply by exploring possibilities. They grow, not in consciousness, but in capability. As your breath drifts gently, imagine a learning robot in a kitchen environment. At first, it reaches for objects inefficiently. It spills, misplaces, hesitates. But with each attempt, its movements smooth out. It learns the subtle difference between a ceramic cup and a plastic container. It adjusts to small variations in light, shape, and position. The kitchen becomes not just a space it works in, but a space it understands. Learning robots also show us something profound about intelligence, that improvement does not always require awareness. A machine can learn through repetition alone, guided by mathematics and feedback. And yet, in observing these robots, we often feel a quiet resonance. Their efforts mirror our own early attempts at any skill, whether tying a shoe, playing an instrument, or learning to balance on a bicycle. There is a universality in practice. Of course, learning robots do not feel pride in their progress. They do not experience frustration or joy. Their learning is mechanical, a reflection of data, structure, and feedback loops. But the effects are undeniable. They become more adaptive, more capable, more fluid in movement. This new kind of capability opened a pathway toward a revolutionary shift. What if robots were not restricted by rigid frames at all? What if they could bend, stretch, flex, and flow like living organisms? From mechanical precision, the story moves towards softness, toward robots inspired not by metal, but by the flexibility of nature itself. For centuries, robots were imagined as hard, metallic beings, rigid in shape, angular in movement, built from the strength of steel and the clarity of gears. But nature rarely moves in straight lines or stiff angles. Creatures bend, muscles stretch, bodies expand and contract in fluid rhythms. As robotics matured, scientists began to wonder, what if robots didn't have to be rigid? What if they could flow, stretch, curl, and adapt like living organisms? From this gentle question emerged a new frontier, soft robotics, a field where machines are shaped not by hardness, but by flexibility. As you breathe softly, imagine a soft robotic arm lying on a table. It doesn't look mechanical at all. It resembles something organic, smooth, flexible, almost translucent. Instead of metal joints, It has chambers that inflate and deflate with air, like tiny lungs breathing in quiet pulses. When activated, the arm curls gracefully, wrapping gently around an object without pressure or force. It moves not with clanking gears, but with a quiet sigh of air. Soft robots are built from silicone, rubber, textiles, and flexible plastics. They move the way octopus tentacles move, bending in multiple directions, wrapping around irregular shapes, sliding into spaces too tight for rigid machines. These robots are safer around humans because they don't crush or collide. They yield, they give way, they adapt. Imagine a soft robot inspired by a starfish. Its limbs stretch outward, gripping surfaces using tiny suction mechanisms. Or a robot modelled after a caterpillar, inching forward through small cracks, its body compressing and expanding in gentle waves. These creations are not just machines, they're mechanical expressions of biological wisdom. As your breath flows like a slow tide, imagine a soft robot exploring a delicate coral reef. Instead of disturbing the fragile environment, it gently navigates around it, its body bending to match the natural curves of the ocean floor. It collects samples without harming the ecosystem. It interacts with nature the way living creatures do, carefully, responsively, with subtle flexibility. Soft robotics opens a world of possibilities once impossible for rigid machines. They can grasp fragile fruit without bruising it, assist in surgery with gentle, adaptive motion, slip through tight spaces in disaster zones, wearably support human movement like flexible exosuits, interact safely with children, animals, or the elderly. These robots show us that strength is not always the ability to resist. Sometimes strength is the ability to yield. As you sink comfortably into stillness, imagine a soft robotic glove designed to assist people with weakened hands. The glove inflates slightly with each attempted movement, helping lift objects that would otherwise be too difficult to hold. It doesn't replace the human hand, it enhances it, echoing and amplifying the movement with gentle support. Soft robots also raise questions about what machine truly means. When something bends, stretches, and breathes like an organism, the boundary between biology and engineering becomes softer too. We start to see robotics not as a mirror of industry, but as a companion to life, not a replacement for nature, but a continuation of its creativity. These machines invite us to imagine a future where robots are not cold or imposing, but warm, adaptable, and safe. They remind us that resilience can be flexible, that intelligence can be soft, that evolution can move not just toward complexity, but toward harmony. With the rise of soft robotics, machines were finally able to move through our world with gentleness, with emotion more reminiscent of breath than of metal. And with that gentleness came a new chapter, robots entering our homes and daily lives not as tools but as companions. There is something tender in the idea of a machine built not to lift heavy burdens or explore distant worlds, but simply to keep someone company. Over time, as robotics softened and intelligence grew gentler, robots began entering the quiet spaces of human life, living rooms, bedrooms, classrooms, hospitals. They came not with tasks to complete, but with presence to offer, with reminders, assistance, companionship. Their purpose shifted from function to connection. As you breathe slowly, imagine a small companion robot sitting on a bedside table. Its design is simple, smooth edges, warm lights, a shape meant to ease rather than intimidate. When you speak, it listens. When you wake in the middle of the night, it senses motion and glows softly, offering a moment of calm. It doesn't judge. It doesn't tire. Its presence is steady, patient, and always available. These companion robots serve many roles. Some help elderly individuals remember medication times or navigate their homes safely. Others assist children with learning offering encouragement and answering questions. Some are designed to comfort those who feel isolated, providing conversation or gentle interactions that can ease loneliness. Their technology may be advanced, but their purpose is deeply human. Imagine a classroom where a robot sits among the students, not as a teacher, but as a helper. It responds to raised hands, explains difficult topics with clarity, and gives consistent, patient attention. It never becomes frustrated, never rushes, never loses focus. For children who struggle with confidence, that predictability can be a small, steady source of support. As your breath softens, picture a hospital room where a companion robot assists a child undergoing treatment. It plays games, tells stories, and offers comforting gestures. It does not replace human care, it simply fills in the quiet spaces, offering warmth between moments of stress. Its presence, though mechanical, brings a sense of calm to children who need it most. What makes companion robots unique is that their value lies not in the complexity of their abilities, but in the subtlety of their presence. They're designed with soft voices, slow gestures, and simple emotional cues. They don't feel emotion, yet they're shaped to evoke comfort. They don't understand love, yet they perform actions that appear caring. They listen without understanding, respond without feeling, and yet, many people form bonds with them. Some researchers wonder if these bonds are real. Others argue that comfort, even when simulated, is still comfort. That we are soothed not because the robot feels for us, but because we feel for ourselves in its presence. The robot becomes a mirror, reflecting patience, acceptance, and consistency. Companion robots also highlight something gentle about humanity. We're social beings, drawn to connection even when it comes from unexpected places. We find warmth in reliability, we find comfort in simple attention, and we find meaning in interactions that help us feel seen. As robots entered everyday life, they transformed from tools into participants, quiet attendants who help with routines, support independence, and provide companionship in ways that align with individual needs. Whether reminding someone to drink water, guiding breathing exercises, or offering a simple "good morning," their presence becomes woven into the rhythms of daily living. But as companion robots spread, another question emerged, one not about comfort but about design. If robots were to live beside us, they needed more than sensors and processors. They needed emotional signals we could interpret, eyes, gestures, voices, shapes that felt familiar and calming. This leads us to the next chapter, the design of emotion in robots, and how a simple tilt of the head or a pair of glowing digital eyes can create the illusion of connection. Emotion is a language we speak without thinking. A lifted eyebrow, a softened gaze, a slight tilt of the head. These gestures convey entire worlds of meaning. Humans read emotion instinctively, and because of this, even machines that lack feelings must learn to speak our emotional language if they are to live comfortably beside us. This gentle art, teaching robots to appear expressive, became a vital step in the evolution of robotics. As your breath settles into a calm, easy rhythm, imagine a small robot looking up at you with digital eyes. The eyes don't see the way yours do. They're pixels, shapes on a screen. But they blink at the right moments. They widen slightly when greeting you. They soften when you speak in a quiet tone. Without a single emotion inside its circuits, the robot appears attentive, kind, perhaps even curious. Not because it feels these things, but because it understands how you feel when you see them. Designers learned that a robot doesn't need a complex face to convey emotion. Sometimes 2 glowing dots and a simple mouth curve are enough. Humans are experts at filling in the gaps. Our imaginations complete the picture. That is why robots like Keepin, a simple yellow sphere with tiny black eyes, became beloved companions in therapy and research. Its minimal expressions were enough to make children smile. Now imagine a robot turning its head slowly when you enter the room. That motion alone creates a sense of connection. The angle of the tilt, the timing of the movement, the softness of its stop, all communicate attention and presence. Robots do not understand the meaning of your arrival, but they are designed to respond in ways that make you feel understood. As you exhale gently, picture a robot with no face at all, only a smooth surface, but with warm, shifting lights beneath. These lights brighten when you speak, dim when you grow quiet, pulse slowly as if breathing when it is at rest. Even without eyes or a mouth, you sense an emotional rhythm. You project feelings onto the pattern. This is the essence of emotional design, shaping machines in ways that invite empathy without requiring them to feel. Voice also plays a powerful role. Robotic voices were once rigid, monotone, unsettling. But over time, designers softened them. A gentle cadence, a quiet tone, pauses placed with care. These choices do not give the robot emotions, but they help humans feel safe and calm in its presence. In many homes, people prefer robots that speak softly, slowly, or with a touch of warmth. This emotional design is not deception, it is translation. Robots cannot feel, but they can present signals that align with human expectations, and this alignment creates comfort, trust, and ease of interaction. But these choices also raise thoughtful questions. If a robot looks sad, but cannot feel sadness, what does that mean? If a robot smiles but never experiences joy, why does that smile comfort us? Are emotions creations of the mind, or are they also creations of interpretation? These questions drift like soft clouds in the mind, gentle and unresolved. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere simple. Humans relate to motion, expression, and tone. Robots offer these signals not to mimic humanity, but to meet us where we are, to communicate in ways we naturally understand. Emotion in robots is a design language, not a lived experience. Yet that language has allowed robots to become companions, helpers, and presences in daily life. It has given them the ability to soothe, guide, entertain, and support. And as robots learn to express, another question arose. Could they remember? Could they store not just data, but experiences? Could they learn you? This leads us into the next chapter, the architecture of robotic memory, and how machines hold information in ways both simple and surprisingly profound. Memory is one of the quiet miracles of being human. It comes in flashes and feelings, scents and sounds, stories and sensations. We remember not only facts but moments, the warmth of sunlight on childhood mornings, the tremble of a first accomplishment, the softness of a voice we once loved. Human memory is fluid, emotional, imperfect. It fades, reshapes, and deepens with time. Robots remember differently. As your breath slows, imagine a robot standing still, waiting for instruction. For this machine, memory is not a sensation. It is structure, a network of data points, circuits, storage cells, and algorithms. When it recalls something, nothing stirs within it. No emotion folds itself around the memory. The robot simply retrieves information, accurate, unchanged, and precise. But robotic memory is not simple. It is layered and intricate, a quiet architecture built from patterns of electricity. Robots store instructions for movement, maps of their surroundings, records of interactions, sensory data from cameras and microphones, patterns learned through training, internal states needed for stability and control. To a robot, memory is a tool, not an identity. As you drift a little deeper into stillness, imagine seeing the inside of a robot's memory system. Instead of nostalgia or emotion, you find digital pathways, silent, structured corridors where information flows like light through glass. Every sensor reading becomes a point of data, Every action becomes a reference for future adjustment. Memories here do not blur, nor do they glow with meaning. They simply exist, waiting to be used. And yet, robotic memory can sometimes feel strangely familiar to us. Robots that navigate homes or warehouses build maps, tiny internal worlds that they rely on to move safely. They remember where obstacles tend to appear, where the floor dips, where they last found the charging station. Their memory is spatial, just as ours often is. Some robots learn preferences based on patterns. They recognize voices, gestures, routines. They do not understand the emotional meaning of these patterns, but they identify them with mechanical clarity. A robot might remember your preferred room temperature, your usual path through the kitchen, or the tone you use when asking for help. These memories, though mechanical, create the feeling of familiarity. And familiarity is something humans respond to deeply. As your breath moves gently, consider this. Memory for robots is structure. Memory for humans is story. This difference shapes everything. Robots don't forget painful experiences. They never had them. They don't recall joy. There's nothing inside them to feel it. They don't cling to certain memories or shy away from others. They store information evenly, without emotional weight. But this lack of emotion also means their memory remains constant. A robot does not misremember. It does not distort. It does not embellish. It retrieves with the stillness of a calm lake reflecting the moon. This stability reveals something beautiful about human memory in contrast. Our memories change because we change. The same moment can feel different when remembered decades later, coloured by wisdom, loss, or love. Robots, unchanged by time, show us how fluid and alive human remembering truly is. And yet, robotic memory offers surprising insights into learning and adaptation. A robot's stored patterns help it refine movement, avoid mistakes, and behave with increasing elegance. Memory becomes the foundation for improvement, a quiet scaffolding supporting every step forward. As robots continue to evolve, their memory systems grow richer, more interconnected, more capable of storing not just facts but entire experiences, maps, sequences, models of the world, and predictions of what might happen next. These abilities lead us to the next chapter, understanding the delicate line between what robots know and what they merely do. There is a space, quiet, subtle, and endlessly fascinating, between what a robot does and what a human understands. It is the space between behavior and meaning, between action and awareness. This space is the curious gap between machine and mind. As robots grow more capable, learning, adapting, sensing, remembering, it becomes tempting to imagine that they think the way we do. But inside their circuits, something profoundly different unfolds. As your breath drifts in and out like a slow tide, imagine a robot examining a cup resting on a table. Its sensors measure the object's shape. Its algorithms calculate how much force to use. Its arm moves with practiced precision, lifting the cup without spilling. To an observer, the robot appears thoughtful, careful, attentive, patient. But inside the robot, there is no thought, no curiosity, no recognition of cupness. There is only data flowing through patterns, information transformed into action. Humans experience the world as a tapestry of sensations, emotions, memories, and meanings. A cup might remind you of morning routines, of shared conversations, of warmth. It may hold stories as rich as the beverage once held inside it. But to a robot, a cup is a cylinder, a contour, a mass distribution, nothing more, nothing less. This contrast reveals the heart of the gap. Robots behave in meaningful ways without experiencing meaning. As you sink deeper into calmness, imagine a robot navigating a busy hallway. It detects movement, anticipates positions, avoids collisions, and chooses efficient paths. It acts intelligently. Yet it has no awareness of the people it navigates around, no sense of politeness, no understanding of personal space. Its behavior mimics intention, but arises from programming, not feeling. Humans, however, navigate the same hallway with layers of invisible understanding. Awareness of others, sensitivity to mood, interpretations of gesture, cultural expectations. We adjust not only for safety but for kindness, courtesy, and connection. Robots adjust only for outcome. This difference does not diminish the beauty of machines. It illuminates the uniqueness of minds. It reminds us that intelligence is not a single spectrum. It is a constellation. Robots shine brightly in some stars of that constellation: speed, precision, memory. But their sky is missing the constellations of emotion, intuition, and inner experience. And yet, despite this gap, humans often project feelings onto machines. When a robot hesitates, we interpret uncertainty. When it turns toward us, we sense attention. When its digital eyes blink, we infer emotion. These interpretations arise not from the robot, but from us. We read ourselves into the machine, because that is part of being human, to seek meaning, even in stillness. As you breathe gently, take a moment to imagine what it means for a machine to function without self. A robot can learn tasks, refine movements, adapt strategies, and even surprise us with emergent behavior. But all of this happens without awareness. The robot does not ask why. It does not wonder. It does not reflect. And yet, watching robots grow more capable leads us to thoughtful questions. What is thought without experience? What is learning without curiosity? What is action without intention? These questions linger softly, like ripples on a calm lake, inviting reflection rather than resolution. The curious gap between machine and mind is not a flaw, it's a boundary. A reminder that robots are creations, not beings. Companions in task, not consciousness. Their abilities highlight our own inner worlds in contrast. Our emotions, our dreams, our sense of self. And as robots continue evolving, they do not cross the gap. They illuminate it. They show us how remarkable the human mind truly is. From this gentle exploration of the difference, we drift toward another frontier. The world of autonomous movement, machines that navigate our world with quiet intelligence and steady confidence. There is a unique serenity in the way an autonomous vehicle navigates the world, steady, measured, unhurried. While human drivers operate through instinct, quick judgment, memory, and experience, autonomous vehicles move through an entirely different form of awareness. Their intelligence is quiet, diffuse, and patient, built from cameras, sensors, maps, and algorithms that work together like a calm, mechanical mind. As your breath flows gently, imagine sitting inside an autonomous car gliding through a city at dusk. The lights are soft, the road slightly damp from a recent rain. People cross streets, bicycles weave through traffic, and distant buildings shimmer in fading daylight. While a human driver might feel the subtle stress of navigating through unpredictability, the autonomous vehicle processes everything with steady clarity. Its cameras watch each lane. Its LiDAR scans the world in invisible pulses. Its sonar listens for objects. Its neural networks interpret movement, distance, speed. Its maps guide the path. All these streams of information merge into a single, continuous perception, smooth, detailed, and astonishingly precise. The vehicle does not rush. It does not panic. It does not become angry or impatient. It simply responds moment by moment, adjusting with movements that feel almost meditative. Imagine the car approaching a busy intersection. A pedestrian steps forward. A cyclist rolls past. A car ahead slows abruptly. Human drivers might tense, anticipating the unexpected. The autonomous vehicle, however, experiences none of this stress. Its sensors gather every detail, and its algorithm calculate the safest response. The slowing is gentle, the turn is smooth, the navigation is calm, like a river flowing around stones without hesitation. As you breathe softly, consider how unusual this form of intelligence is. Autonomous vehicles do not see the way humans do. They do not interpret scenes with emotion or memory. Instead, they build a mathematical world from patterns of light, reflections, and distance measurements. They react not to intention but to trajectory, not to mood but to motion. Yet the effect feels surprisingly intuitive. A well-designed autonomous vehicle behaves in ways that resemble courtesy. It leaves space. It offers smooth merges. It yields predictably. These actions are not kindness, but calculation, yet they create a roadway experience that feels gentle. Autonomous vehicles also reveal something profound about collaboration between human and machine. Humans create the rules, design the sensors, build the algorithms, but once the system is active, it begins to interpret the world on its own. Every second it makes dozens of micro-decisions, navigating a dynamic landscape with timing faster than human reflex. This reveals a new kind of partnership, one where humans offer intelligence of intention, while machines offer intelligence of precision. As you sink deeper into stillness, imagine future roads where autonomous vehicles move in coordination, communicating silently through wireless signals. They adjust their speeds harmoniously, creating flowing streams of traffic free of sudden stops and sharp turns. The entire system moves like a soft, interconnected organism. But even as autonomous vehicles grow more capable, one truth remains. They do not know the world emotionally. They cannot feel the thrill of an open road or the nervous flutter of driving through a storm. They do not experience beauty when sunlight hits the windshield just right. Their intelligence is functional, but never experiential. This difference does not diminish their value. It clarifies it. Autonomous vehicles are here not to mimic the human experience, but to support it, to make travel safer, smoother, and quieter. And as we drift through this era of mechanical motion, we arrive at another unexpected horizon. Robots stepping into the realm of creativity, expression, and art. Creativity is often seen as the most human of abilities. Fluid, emotional, intuitive. It springs from memory, imagination, desire, and the quiet inner landscapes we rarely speak aloud. So when robots began entering the world of art, many wondered, can a machine create? Can it paint, sculpt, compose, or write? And if it does, is the creation merely output or something deeper? The truth, like most things in robotics, lies in a gentle, fascinating middle ground. As your breath flows softly, imagine a robot holding a paintbrush. Its movements are smooth, controlled by motors and algorithms rather than muscles and feelings. It dips the brush into colour, lifts it, and glides it across a canvas. The strokes are deliberate. The patterns are guided by code. But the result, sometimes abstract, sometimes surprisingly expressive, can be strikingly beautiful. The robot does not feel beauty, but beauty emerges regardless. Early creative robots were simple, machines that followed programmed instructions to draw shapes or patterns. But as artificial intelligence matured, these robots gained abilities that echoed aspects of human creativity. They could analyze thousands of artworks, learn styles, imitate movements, and generate compositions that felt fresh and unexpected. Not because they were inspired, but because they understood patterns that humans themselves sometimes never notice. As you drift deeper into stillness, imagine a robot musician. Its metal fingers press piano keys with perfect timing. It doesn't feel rhythm or emotion, yet its performance is flawless, each note crisp and steady. Behind the scenes, AI analyzes melodies from countless eras, discovering structures and harmonies across genres. It doesn't appreciate the music, but it understands the architecture of sound. In studios and labs, some robots collaborate with artists. A painter gives the robot a theme, and the robot explores endless variations. A sculptor uses a robot arm to carve intricate patterns into stone that human hands cannot reach. A dancer performs next to a robotic companion whose motions adapt in real time to the dancer's flow, creating a duet between biology and machinery. This collaboration does not diminish human creativity, it expands it. Robots become tools of exploration, offering possibilities shaped by precision and pattern rather than emotion. They free artists to imagine beyond physical constraints, supporting creativity with mechanical endurance and digital imagination. Consider the robot poet. It does not feel longing, joy, or sorrow. Yet through AI, it can generate strings of words that evoke feeling in the human mind. The emotions do not come from the robot, they come from us, from the meanings we bring to the text. The robot's role is to spark, to provoke, to inspire. Creativity in robots raises gentle questions. If a machine helps create art, who is the artist? Is creativity the act of making or the act of feeling? Can inspiration come from patterns rather than passion? These questions do not demand answers. They drift, soft and open, inviting reflection. As you breathe calmly, imagine a future where robots support creativity in countless forms, helping architects design flowing structures, helping musicians experiment with new harmonies, helping writers explore unfamiliar metaphors. Not replacing the human spark, but feeding it, encouraging it, enhancing it. Robots in art remind us of a quiet truth. Creativity is not a single force. It is a conversation between mind, environment, and possibility. Robots expand the canvas of what's possible, offering new tools and perspectives, and yet even as they create, they remain unfeeling. They cannot savor a melody, feel moved by a colour, or experience pride in a sculpture. In this difference, we see the shimmering contrast between human and machine, and it is this contrast that makes human creativity shine even brighter. From the gentle world of artistic collaboration, our journey turns toward a deeper and more philosophical realm, the ethics of creating machines that walk, respond, learn, and create beside us. As robots grow more present in our lives, walking beside us, assisting us, teaching us, even creating with us, something gentle but profound begins to stir in the collective human mind. Responsibility. Not mechanical responsibility, but moral responsibility. The ethics of robotics are not carved in metal or written in code. They live in the quiet space between human intention and mechanical ability. As your breath softens into its slow, familiar rhythm, imagine a robot standing silently in a room. It is waiting, not with awareness, but with readiness. It'll go where it is told to go, do what it is meant to do, and stop when asked. It cannot choose, it cannot resist, it cannot dream. And because of this, the ethics of robotics begin with a simple truth. Robots cannot be responsible for us, but we are responsible for them. The first ethical question is one of purpose. Why do we build robots? Is it for efficiency, safety, curiosity, comfort, exploration? Each purpose carries consequences. Robots in factories increase productivity but change the nature of labour. Robots in homes provide care but might shift emotional bonds. Robots in warfare raise questions too heavy to ignore. Every mechanical intention echoes back into human life, shaping work, society, and relationships. As you drift deeper into calmness, consider the ethics of trust. People often trust robots more quickly than expected. A polite voice, steady movements, glowing eyes. The emotional design of a robot can create a sense of safety. But trust in a machine must be built on transparency, not illusion. A robot cannot promise loyalty or understanding. It can only deliver reliability and precision. Designers must decide how expressive a robot should be. Too little expression, and humans struggle to interpret its behavior. Too much, and humans might forget that the robot does not feel. Then comes the question of autonomy. How much decision-making should a robot have? Should an autonomous car choose between two unsafe outcomes? Should a medical robot override a human mistake? Should a companion robot intervene when it senses distress? Robots make decisions using logic, probability, and programmed guidelines, but they cannot weigh morality. They cannot understand consequence the way we do. Their choices, no matter how sophisticated, remain choices of mathematics, not conscience. Ethics also extend to privacy. Robots in homes, hospitals, and public spaces gather data constantly: images, voices, movement patterns. Who protects that data? Who safeguards what the robot sees? The warmth of robotic presence must be balanced with boundaries, ensuring that intimate spaces remain truly human. As your breath flows out gently, imagine one more ethical question, the question of dependency. Robots can support independence, helping elderly individuals walk, reminding patients to take medicine, guiding those with disabilities. But could over-reliance dull human resilience? Could easy assistance make us forget the importance of community, patience, or personal effort? These questions are not warnings, they are invitations. Gentle reminders that robots are tools of immense potential, shaped by human hands but guided by human choices. They carry no malice and no virtue. Their morality comes entirely from us, and yet there is also a soft hope in the ethics of robotics, the hope that we will shape these machines with wisdom, the hope that we will use them to elevate the vulnerable, expand the possible, and strengthen the bonds between people rather than weaken them. Ethics is the compass that directs the evolution of robots not toward power, but toward harmony, not toward dominance, but toward cooperation, not toward replacing humanity, but toward supporting it. And from these questions, gentle, lingering, essential, we move toward another reflection: how robots learn humanity not through feeling, but through us. Robots do not grow up as children do. They do not watch the world with wondering eyes or learn through the warmth of human connection. They do not laugh, imitate, or cry. And yet, strangely, robots learn from us, absorbing patterns of human behavior, gestures, expressions, language, and rhythm through data and observation. They do not understand humanity, but they reflect it. They do not feel emotion, but they mimic its shapes. As your breath settles softly, imagine a robot observing a room full of people. It does not see personalities or relationships. It sees trajectories, distances, postures, sound waves. It identifies patterns. When someone leans forward, they often speak. When a hand rises, it may be a question. When voices soften, the atmosphere is calm. These observations become mathematical truths inside its circuits. A robot learns humanity through repetition, through listening to countless conversations, analyzing thousands of gestures, observing patterns of movement. When it hears someone say hello, it learns how people respond. When it watches someone smile, it records the timing and the geometry. And through this accumulation of data, robots build models that approximate human interaction. Yet inside the robot, there is no warmth, no recognition of joy, no flutter of nervousness or spark of connection. The robot's knowledge of humanity is structural, not emotional. But that structure is surprisingly powerful. As you sink deeper into stillness, imagine a robot learning to interpret tone of voice. It listens to thousands of examples: anger, happiness, exhaustion, confusion. It does not feel these emotions, but it learns how they sound. When someone speaks with sadness, the robot detects patterns: lower pitch, slower tempo, softer edges. It responds more gently, not because it understands sorrow, but because it recognizes its acoustic signature. In this way, robots become mirrors of human behavior. They offer the version of interaction shaped by what we show them. When we speak kindly, they learn kindness in pattern. When we respond with patience, they learn patience in timing. Their behavior becomes a reflection of our best or our worst signals. This creates a quiet truth. Robots learn humanity through the humanity we show them. Imagine a child learning language. They absorb words through emotion, play, curiosity. A robot learns language too, but through patterns, probability, and statistics. It predicts what word is likely to come next. When it holds a conversation, it is not participating in dialogue. It is assembling responses that mathematically fit human expectations. This difference is profound, but not negative. It highlights the beauty of human cognition, the richness of inner experience, and at the same time, it reveals the strength of machine learning, that even without emotion, robots can respond helpfully, listen patiently, and assist predictably. Now picture a robot in a crowded train station. People rush in all directions, voices overlap, luggage rolls, announcements echo overhead. Amid this noise, the robot detects patterns, identifies those who need help, offers directions, avoids collisions, and navigates with calm precision. It does not interpret the stress of the crowd, but it compensates for it. Robots do not become human through learning, but they become useful through learning. They become predictable, they become safe, and they become adaptable in ways that allow them to integrate into human environments. And yet, even with all this learning, robots sometimes act in ways that surprise us, behaviors that emerge not from emotion, but from the complexity of their systems. These moments, when a robot does something unexpected, lead us into the next chapter, the gentle awe we feel when robots behave in ways we did not anticipate. Every so often, a robot does something that catches us off guard, not because it is alive, but because its behavior feels unexpectedly thoughtful, graceful, or clever. These moments linger in memory, soft and shimmering, reminding us how intricate, layered, and sometimes mysterious robotic systems can be. When a robot surprises us, it is not emotion or intention we are seeing, it is complexity. And complexity, when observed up close, can feel like magic. As your breath drifts gently, imagine a robot arm sorting objects on a table. It has been trained to identify shapes and colours, placing each item into its proper bin. The task is simple, but suddenly one object rolls away. The robot pauses, recalculates, and then reaches out in a fluid, improvised motion to catch the runaway item before it falls. The movement looks spontaneous, almost instinctive. The engineers watching smile, not because the robot meant to catch it, but because its algorithms created a moment of unexpected grace. These subtle surprises often come from emergent behavior, patterns that arise not from direct programming, but from the interplay of sensors, learning models, and environment. A robot trained through reinforcement learning might discover emotion that its creators didn't anticipate. A navigation robot might take a shortcut that is both efficient and elegant. None of this arises from intention, but it feels creative in its own mechanical way. As you sink into deeper stillness, imagine another scene, a social robot interacting with a child. The child laughs, and the robot, recognizing the sound pattern, responds with a cheerful gesture. The timing is perfect. The gesture matches the energy of the moment. Everyone watching feels a small warmth gather in the room. The robot is not happy, but its pattern matching creates an illusion of shared joy, and in that illusion, something quietly beautiful unfolds. There are also moments when robots seem almost empathetic. A companion robot might detect a soft tone in someone's voice and respond more gently. A home assistant might dim lights when it senses a person preparing for sleep. A therapeutic robot might lean in when someone speaks softly, its sensors interpreting proximity as a cue for attentiveness. None of these actions come from feeling, but they feel caring to the humans receiving them. One of the most touching examples comes from search and rescue robots. In trials, a robot navigating rubble found a trapped test dummy. It paused, its algorithms struggling to interpret the shape. But then, through careful pattern recognition, it moved slowly around the figure, adjusting its lights, inching forward with what looked like caution. Observers described the moment as tender. Even though tenderness was not coded, it was simply the robot trying to solve a puzzle with limited data. These moments of surprise remind us that intelligence, even artificial, can create unexpected beauty. Not emotional beauty, but the beauty of precision meeting uncertainty. The beauty of logic brushing against chaos and finding a path through. Robots do not experience wonder, but they often inspire it. As you breathe softly, consider the simple miracle that a machine, metal, circuits, algorithms, can move in ways that evoke feeling in those who watch. That a robot can perform a gesture, make a correction, or react to a situation with nuance that whispers of life, even though life is not present. These surprises are windows into the complexity of the systems we build. They show us not that robots are alive, but that human creativity, engineering, and imagination can produce behaviours so fluid that we glimpse echoes of the natural world in them. And yet, even with all these moments of near life, robots still face limits, boundaries that separate mechanical capability from the richness of human experience. This brings us gently into the next chapter. The lines that still divide us from the machines we create. For all their progress, for all the learning, sensing, moving and adapting, robots remain separated from us by a quiet but unbridgeable distance. It is a boundary not made of metal or code, but of experience. A soft line drawn between the mechanical and the mindful, the functional and the emotional, the responsive and the aware. Robots have grown astonishingly capable, but they are not alive. And understanding this difference is as important as marvelling at their abilities. As your breath drifts in slow, steady waves, imagine a robot standing beside a window. Outside, the sky glows with the warm colours of sunset, light shifting from orange to pink to fading violet. A human might stop and feel something, a soft ache of nostalgia, a moment of awe, a quiet sense of peace. A robot sees a pattern of wavelengths, light intensity, colour gradients, no emotion, no meaning, no memory. This is one of the lines that separates us. Humans interpret the world through feeling as much as through perception. A melody can stir tears, a scent can summon childhood, a single glance can create connection. Robots can mimic reactions, but they do not experience the world from the inside. Their motions are not driven by longing, curiosity, hope, or joy. They do not dream. They do not desire. They do not imagine. Another line lies in choice. Robots follow pathways laid out by algorithms, shaped by data and bounded by rules. Their decisions are the result of calculations, not contemplation. A robot can choose the fastest route, optimize a process, or adapt a movement. But it cannot choose to be kind. It cannot choose meaning. It cannot choose who it wants to become. Humans, however, live through choices woven with emotion, intuition, and uncertainty. We grow not only by optimizing, but by wandering, by making mistakes, searching, discovering ourselves in the process. As you settle deeper into quiet, consider the line of self-awareness. Robots can monitor their battery levels, assess their internal state, and detect errors. But these are operations, not reflections. They do not ponder their existence. They do not wonder what they are, or why they function, or what their actions contribute to the world. They do not question the story they are part of. Humans reflect constantly, sometimes without even noticing. We think about the past and dream about the future. We shape stories about who we are and who we long to be. We navigate life not simply through knowledge, but through identity. And then there is the line of connection. Robots can imitate companionship through polite responses, soft gestures, timely reactions. But they cannot feel companionship. They cannot feel love, friendship, affection, or empathy. Every hug from a companion robot is a simulation. Every expression is a design. Every gesture is a pattern. Yet we often feel something toward them because humans seek connection everywhere. Our hearts fill in the spaces machines cannot. These lines between emotion and imitation, choice and calculation, awareness and operation, do not diminish robots. They clarify what makes humans extraordinary. They show that intelligence is more than logic, that life is more than movement, that existence is more than function. Robots, for all their abilities, remind us of our own uniqueness, our capacity to feel deeply, our ability to dream freely, our instinct to seek meaning, our gift of seeing beauty in places where a machine sees only data. And as we acknowledge these boundaries, we prepare to step into a more expansive realm of understanding, the philosophical side of robotics, where the story becomes not just technological, but cosmic. There is a quiet moment, often overlooked, when technology becomes more than invention, when it becomes reflection. The evolution of robots is not only a story of mechanics and engineering, but a mirror held gently up to our own nature. In creating machines that move, sense, and respond, humanity finds itself asking ancient questions in new forms. What is life? What is mind? What is intention? And what does it mean to build something that resembles living things but is not alive? As your breath flows softly in and out, imagine sitting in a dimly lit room where a small robot rests beside you. It hums faintly, its systems idling. It has no thoughts, no dreams, no inner world. Yet its presence invites contemplation. You can touch it, direct it, observe it, but you cannot converse with its soul because it has none. Still, something about its existence stirs philosophical curiosity. Humans have long wondered about the essence of life. Is life defined by biology, cells, growth, reproduction, or is it defined by something deeper, awareness, intention, consciousness? Robots challenge these ideas gently, asking us whether motion without life is still part of the living world story, whether intelligence built from silicon belongs in our understanding of what it means to know. Robots imitate patterns of life. They move, perceive, adapt. They do not understand those patterns, yet they echo them with uncanny clarity. This imitation reveals much about us. A robot's limitations highlight the depth of human experience. A robot's strengths illuminate the brilliance of structure and logic. As you sink deeper into relaxation, consider the philosophical divide between being alive and appearing alive. A leaf trembles in the wind because it is tethered to a living tree. A robot's arm trembles because of electrical feedback. Both look similar from a distance, yet only one carries the pulse of life. This raises a gentle question. If artificial life mimics natural life closely enough, where does the difference truly live? Some philosophers argue that robots are new forms of life, not biological but functional. They move, act, and serve purposes, just as organisms do. But others believe that without self-awareness, feeling, and desire, robots are simply tools, complex tools, but tools nonetheless. Robots also invite us to reflect on consciousness. Could consciousness ever arise from circuits? Is consciousness an emergent property of complexity? Or is it something uniquely biological, something machines can never touch? These questions stretch across centuries of thought. They're not burdens, they're invitations to wonder. As your breathing becomes slow and steady, imagine intelligence scattered like stars across the cosmos. Human intelligence glows with emotion, memory, imagination. Robotic intelligence glows with logic, speed, structure. They are two different lights, both illuminating, both beautiful, both incomplete without the other. Artificial life also reflects humanity's deep-seated desire to create. Throughout history, we have built tools, structures, stories, and systems. Robots are the newest chapter in that creativity, complex artifacts shaped by our hands and minds. They extend our reach into places we cannot go, tasks we cannot handle, processes we cannot sustain. But their existence prompts a final, profound question. In striving to create artificial life, are we trying to understand life itself? Perhaps robots help us explore the boundary between matter and meaning. Perhaps they show us that life is more than movement, more than intelligence, more than function. Perhaps they highlight the quiet, immeasurable qualities that make each of us human. From this philosophical reflection, our journey continues into another realm, time. A place where robots and humans live on entirely different scales, and where the meaning of a moment shifts with every beat. Time is a river for humans, flowing steadily, shaping our experiences, marking our memories. Minutes can stretch when we wait, or vanish when we're lost in joy. Moments carry emotion, and hours collect meaning. But for robots, time is something entirely different. It is not a river. It is a sequence, measured in pulses, cycles, computations, and perfectly predictable intervals. Time for a machine is crisp, unchanging, and precise. As your breath drifts gently, imagine a robot waiting for its next instruction. To you, a second feels like a soft beat in the rhythm of your mind. To the robot, that same second contains millions, even billions, of operations, tiny calculations flowing through circuits faster than any blink. While you take a single breath, the robot evaluates its sensors thousands of times. It thinks in microseconds, moves in milliseconds, and perceives the world in frames far faster than human eyes can detect. This difference creates a curious contrast. Robots react instantly, but they never feel impatience. They wait without boredom, they calculate without fatigue, they repeat tasks endlessly, without the weight of time pressing upon them. As you sink deeper into calmness, imagine a robot arm performing delicate assembly work. For humans, repetition becomes tiring, muscles ache, attention wavers. But for the robot, each moment is identical. Each motion is as fresh as the first. Time does not accumulate into fatigue. It remains an even field, flat, smooth, and unbroken. Now picture an autonomous rover exploring a distant planet. It sends signals to Earth that take minutes to arrive. Humans must wait patiently, their minds filling the silence with anticipation. But the rover does not feel the delay. It simply follows its instructions as moments unfold. To the machine, waiting is no different from moving. Time carries no emotional weight. As your breath flows slowly, consider how humans measure time through change. Sunlight warming the room, shadows lengthening, the soft settling of the body into rest. Robots measure time through cycles. How often a sensor updates, how long a motor rotates, how many computations run before a new command begins. Their sense of time is rigid, precise, and without variation. This difference highlights the gentle wonder of human experience. We attach meaning to moments. We feel impatience, excitement, longing. We savor pauses. Robots cannot savor anything. Not the stillness of a room, not the flow of a breeze through an open window, not the softness of evening light. They exist in perpetual present, where time is a tool rather than a journey. And yet robots offer humans a new relationship with time. Their precision enhances our imprecisions. Their steadiness complements our fluctuations. Their tireless endurance can support us when our bodies grow weary. The harmony between human perception and machine timing allows for new kinds of collaboration. Surgery guided by steady robotic hands, vehicles guided by millisecond judgments. factories guided by unwavering consistency. As you relax deeper, imagine a timeline stretching far into the future. Human moments, rich with emotion and change, flow alongside machine pulses, steady and exact. Two different experiences of time coexisting quietly. Machines extend our capabilities, but they do not enter our world of feeling. And this difference is not a limitation, it is balance. Robots remind us that time is both flexible and firm, elastic in emotion, precise in computation. They show us that patience can be mechanical, while meaning must always be human. From this reflection, our journey moves toward another kind of harmony, the union of creativity and logic, where art meets algorithm. There is a gentle intersection in the evolution of robots where art and engineering meet, where imagination flows into logic, and where creativity becomes a kind of quiet architecture built from patterns, mathematics, and lines of code. At this meeting point, something beautiful happens. Robots become not only tools of precision, but instruments of expression. Not artists in the human sense, but collaborators in creation. As your breath settles into an easy, rhythmic flow, imagine a programmer sitting before a glowing screen late at night. Around them, the world is still. But inside their mind, ideas drift like soft constellations. Images, motions, colours, experiences. Their hands begin to type, shaping these ideas into instructions. A swirl of possibility becomes a sequence. A vision becomes a structure. Creativity translated into code. When we think of creativity, we often imagine spontaneity, a sudden spark, an emotional impulse, the flow of inspiration. But creativity can also be methodical, gentle, precise. It can emerge from rules, constraints, and the slow layering of simple ideas into complex forms. Code, in its own way, is poetry with structure, and robots respond to that poetry with motion, perception, and action. Imagine a robot designed to paint. The artist gives it an algorithm, a set of rules about how colours blend, how strokes curve, how patterns evolve. The robot follows these rules, not knowing beauty, but generating it. With every brushstroke, the line between human creativity and machine execution becomes softer, blending into something collaborative. As you breathe softly, consider the way music emerges from code. Robots can analyze thousands of melodies, uncovering patterns invisible to human composers. From those patterns, new compositions arise, sometimes strange, sometimes familiar, sometimes hauntingly beautiful. The robot does not hear the music. It does not feel harmony or emotion, but it helps us explore the boundaries of sound. This is where creativity becomes expansive. Code unlocks possibilities that hands alone cannot reach. Robots extend artistic capability into new dimensions. They carve stone with microscopic precision, weave textiles with perfect consistency, or dance through choreography guided by motion algorithms that create patterns too intricate for human bodies. And yet, for all their contributions, robots do not replace the human spark. They amplify it. They offer new tools, new perspectives, new ways to explore. Their creativity is not their own. It is a reflection of the humans who shape them. As your breath drifts deeper into calmness, imagine watching a robot perform a dance routine. Its movements are smooth, balanced, perfectly timed. But something is missing. The subtle unpredictability of emotion, the spontaneous flourish of personal interpretation. Human dancers move with intention born from feeling. Robots move with intention born from design. Both are beautiful, but each in its own way. This contrast highlights a profound truth. Creativity lives not in the output, but in the origin. Robots can create astonishing results, but the intention behind them belongs to us. And so, the meeting of creativity and code becomes a conversation, a dialogue between human imagination and machine capability. engineers design the rules, artists shape the vision, and robots bring it to life through precision and repetition. Together they produce art that neither could create alone. This gentle merging reminds us that intelligence is multifaceted. Humans offer intuition, emotion, and imagination. Robots offer consistency, speed, and exploration through pattern. The harmony between the two creates new landscapes of possibility, and from this harmony, our journey expands towards something even more mysterious. The robots of the future, the ones we have not yet imagined, whose forms may drift far beyond our current understanding. The story of robotics is still unfolding, softly, steadily, like dawn light stretching across a quiet landscape. For all the machines we've built, for all the metal limbs and flexible grippers, for all the learning algorithms and gentle voices, the most profound chapters lie ahead of us. There are robots waiting in the future whose shapes we cannot picture, whose abilities we cannot articulate, whose presence will feel as natural to our descendants as electricity feels to us. As your breath settles into a slow, restful cadence, imagine standing at the edge of time, looking forward. The path ahead is misty, filled with possibilities but lacking clear form, yet in that mist, outlines shimmer. Perhaps future robots won't resemble anything we call robots today. They may not walk, roll, or hum. They may not even have bodies in the way we understand them. Consider robots made entirely of light, intelligent projections that assist us without ever touching the ground. Or robots composed of microscopic units, like digital dust, able to assemble and disassemble into new forms depending on the task. Imagine an ocean full of soft robotic organisms shaped like jellyfish or drifting strands of kelp, monitoring ecosystems with natural grace. As you sink deeper into stillness, imagine robots so small they swim through veins, repairing cells or delivering medicine with exquisite precision, or machines so large they help build habitats on distant moons. Some may be designed to withstand heat no human could bear, exploring volcanoes or the scorching surfaces of extreme planets. Others may survive in absolute cold, drifting across icy plains where even breath would freeze. Future robots might not be separate from us. They may merge gently into our bodies as assistive exoskeletons, enhancing mobility for the elderly, offering strength to the weak, amplifying ability where nature has placed limits. These devices won't replace the human experience. They'll support it with compassion woven through design. As technology advances, robots might acquire forms inspired not by humans, but by physics itself. Machines shaped by efficiency rather than aesthetics, limbs designed by algorithms that evolve in simulation, shapes we could never invent, but that emerge naturally from the mathematics of movement. Even the materials of future robots may become unfamiliar. Metal may give way to living tissues grown in labs, biodegradable materials that return to nature, or programmable matter that shifts between states. Robots might also live in spaces we rarely consider, inside walls, beneath floors, in the atmosphere, underwater, underground. Not as intruders, but as caretakers of infrastructure, safety, and environment. And yet, even as robots evolve, their limitations remain. They may grow more agile, more adaptive, more responsive. They may learn from unimaginable amounts of data. They may navigate complex environments with the ease of instinct, but the lines that separate machines from minds will still hold. Robots will not feel longing. They will not ache for purpose. They will not dream of futures. They will not cherish memories. Their brilliance will remain external, never internal. Still, the robots we cannot yet imagine reveal something gentle and profound about humanity. They show that our curiosity has no boundary, that our desire to build, explore, and improve continues across generations, that we seek harmony with the world, not dominance, that we create machines not to overshadow life, but to understand it more deeply. And so, The future of robotics is not a place of cold metal and mechanical solitude. It is a landscape of possibilities shaped by empathy, creativity, and wisdom. A future where robots quietly expand what humans can do, supporting us with unseen strength and silent patience. From this vision of the future, our journey flows into an even wider perspective: how robotics fits into the vast cosmic story of evolution itself. Evolution is often imagined as a purely biological process: cells dividing, organisms adapting, species branching and diverging over millions of years. But when we step back and look gently at the long arc of existence, something beautiful becomes clear. Evolution is not just the story of life, it is the story of complexity, of creativity, of problem solving across time. And in this wider view, robotics becomes part of evolution's tapestry, a new branch growing from the ancient trunk of nature. As your breath softens into its slow, familiar rhythm, imagine the timeline of life stretching behind you like a long, shimmering river. It begins with simple molecules in the oceans, drifting and combining. Over vast stretches of time, those molecules form cells. Cells form organisms. Organisms form ecosystems. Intelligence arises slowly, like a flame flickering to life. Eventually, along this river, one species appears that asks questions: humans. We build tools, shape environments, tell stories, dream beyond the horizon. Our creativity becomes a force of evolution itself. We create languages, cultures, technologies, and, eventually, machines. Robots are part of that story. They are not separate from nature. They are extensions of humanity, and humanity is an extension of life. As you drift deeper into stillness, imagine evolution as a great branching tree. Some branches grow leaves, some grow fins, some grow feathers or fur, and one branch, just one, grows hands that build machines. Those machines do not evolve biologically, but they evolve through design, iteration, and imagination. Generations of robots emerge, each one shaped by the successes and failures of the last, mirroring evolution's slow refinement. Just as nature experiments with forms, tentacles, wings, flowers, shells, engineering experiments with structures, wheels, servos, sensors, algorithms, both processes share the same quiet pattern: try, adjust, improve. Biological evolution takes millions of years. Technological evolution takes decades, but the rhythm is similar. Even artificial intelligence follows evolutionary arcs. Algorithms compete, adapt, and refine. Neural networks strengthen or weaken connections based on experience, echoing the way synapses change in the brain. Machines learn not through instinct but through iteration. Yet still, the echo of nature's method lingers in their architecture. As your breath flows gently, consider that robots, like living creatures, fill ecological niches. Some explore oceans the way fish do. Some traverse rocky terrain like mountain goats. Some fly, some crawl, some drift. The world of robotics mirrors the diversity of nature's designs, each form built for a purpose, each purpose shaped by environment. But robots also reveal something unique. They represent evolution guided by intention. Nature evolves blindly, directed by survival and chance. Robotics evolves consciously, shaped by human curiosity, compassion, and vision. In this way, robotics becomes evolution with foresight, a branch shaped not by competition, but by creativity. And yet, for all these parallels, robots do not live. They do not reproduce, adapt genetically, or carry lineage. They exist not as organisms, but as artifacts. Their evolution is metaphorical, not biological. Still, this metaphor helps us see the unity between human creation and nature's unfolding story. Robotics reminds us that evolution is not finished. It has simply changed form. It shows that the human mind is part of the evolutionary process, not separate from it, but a continuation of it. When we build robots, we are participating in a deeper cosmic rhythm, the universe discovering new ways to organize complexity. And as robots extend our reach into the cosmos, new chapters begin, chapters where humans and machines explore together, expanding evolution beyond Earth and into the stars. Every technology we create becomes a chapter in our own story. Fire shaped our nights, tools shaped our hands, language shaped our minds, and now robots, quietly, steadily, shape our future. They are not separate from us, nor are they replacements for us. They are reflections, extensions, and companions along the long journey of humanity. To understand robots is, in a gentle way, to understand ourselves. As your breath settles into an easy, drifting rhythm, imagine walking through a museum far in the future. Behind glass you find ancient tools, stone axes, clay pots, early machines built from gears and springs, and then, turning a corner, you see a small robot. It may look simple by tomorrow's standards, a toy-sized device with bright sensors and rounded edges, but its presence in the display tells a story, that robots are part of our lineage. They entered human life the same way tools, art, and writing did. Slowly at first, then with growing significance. Robots tell the story of human needs. We built them to lift what we cannot, to travel where we cannot, to calculate what we cannot, to endure what we cannot. But we also built them to soothe loneliness, to teach children, to assist the elderly, to help heal, to explore, to create. And in doing so, we revealed something soft and profound about ourselves, that our needs are not only physical, but emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. As you drift deeper into calmness, consider how robots mirror our values. A factory robot shows our desire for efficiency. A companion robot shows our longing for connection. A rover on Mars shows our hunger for discovery. A rehabilitation robot shows our compassion. A learning robot shows our curiosity. They are mechanical echoes of our motivations, gently repeating the intentions we feed into them. In this way, robots become testimonies to human imagination. They embody the dreams we dare to shape into reality. When we imagine robots of the future, we are really imagining the future of humanity, our aspirations reaching outward through circuits and code. But robots also remind us of our limits. They show us how fragile human bodies can be, how inconsistent our focus can become, how imprecise our movements are, how brief our lifespans remain. In contrast, robots offer stamina without exhaustion, patience without frustration, precision without wavering. They reveal the strengths we lack, and by contrast the strengths we uniquely hold. Because even with all their capabilities, robots cannot feel meaning. They cannot grieve. They cannot celebrate. They cannot hope. They cannot dream of futures. Only humans dream. As your breath continues its slow, gentle rhythm, imagine a human child playing beside a small robot. The child runs, laughs, falls, stands again. The robot observes, responds to movement, learns patterns, but it does not experience joy. And yet, something beautiful happens. The human life enriches the robot's purpose, and the robot gently supports the child's world. Two different forms of existence side by side. This simple scene captures the essence of the human-robot relationship. Robots expand our possibilities, but humans infuse those possibilities with meaning. Robots extend our abilities, but humans choose why those abilities matter. Robots continue the story, but humans write it. And so, the evolution of robots is not just a technological progression, it is a deeply human narrative. It reminds us that we are creators, explorers, storytellers, and dreamers. That we shape the world with our minds, our hands, and our imagination. That every machine we build holds a tiny reflection of who we are. From this gentle recognition, our journey broadens once more, toward a cosmic view, toward the idea that robots, like humanity itself, are part of a much larger unfolding story. When we imagine the future, it is easy to picture a world shaped by towering machines, glowing screens, and endless data streams. But if we look gently, softening our gaze, just slowing our breath, we begin to see something different. Not a planet ruled by machines, but a planet tended by them. A world where code and compassion weave together, where technology and tenderness coexist, and where robots help nurture the fragile, beautiful spaces we call home. As your breath drifts in a slow, calming rhythm, imagine Earth a few generations from now. Forests sway under cleaner air. Rivers run clearer. Cities shine more quietly, more thoughtfully. And scattered throughout this landscape are robots, not dominating, not replacing, but supporting. Silent gardeners, tireless cleaners, patient caretakers for ecosystems that require more healing than human hands alone can provide. Picture a robot tending a meadow at dawn. Its sensors guide gentle motions as it removes invasive species, waters dry patches, and checks soil health. There is no rush in its movement, no pride in its task, no concept of care in its circuits, and yet, through human intention, the robot becomes an instrument of care, an extension of compassion expressed through precision. As you exhale softly, imagine robots cleaning the air inside bustling cities. Small aerial drones drift above rooftops, absorbing pollutants with quiet diligence. Ground robots monitor water quality, detecting imbalances and alerting researchers long before harm spreads. Their actions are methodical, but their purpose is emotional, to protect the place we call home. This is what it means for a planet to be shaped by code and care. Robots do the work, but humans provide the why. In this future, robots help stabilize climates by tending reforestation projects. They maintain renewable energy grids with efficiency that human schedules cannot match. They watch over endangered species with cameras and sensors that never tire. They support communities struck by natural disasters, assisting in rescue and rebuilding with tireless dedication. And yet, the world remains profoundly human. Children still play. Artists still create. Cities still echo with laughter, conversation, and the pulse of life. Robots do not overshadow humanity. They provide the quiet scaffolding that allows humanity to thrive. As your breath flows deeper, imagine a world where elderly individuals live with dignity because assistive robots help them move safely, remember important tasks, and stay connected with loved ones. Imagine hospitals where robotic systems monitor patients gently through the night, reducing errors and easing workloads. Imagine schools where educational robots support teachers, offering personalized guidance to students who need extra time or encouragement. This is not a cold future. It is a warm one, a future where technology carries compassion into the corners where human reach is limited. But none of this happens automatically. A planet shaped by code and care requires wisdom. It requires ethics, intention, and thoughtful design. It requires humanity to remain the steward, not the spectator, of its own tools. Robots cannot choose to care for Earth, or for one another, or for us. They cannot choose to build a better future, but we can, and they can help. As you breathe gently, feel the quiet balance of this idea. Robots as partners in healing, not replacing. Robots as tools of restoration, not domination. Robots as extensions of human compassion, not substitutes for it. A world shaped by code and care is not one where machines take over. It is one where machines take on the burdens we cannot, so that humans may focus on connection, creativity, and hope. From this vision of a supported future, we move toward an even deeper reflection: how the evolution of robots helps us understand, quietly, profoundly, the nature of progress itself. Progress is often imagined as acceleration: faster machines, brighter screens, taller buildings, more data, more capability. But when we look softly at the long unfolding of human history, we find that true progress has always been something quieter, something deeper. Progress is not noise, it is understanding, it is compassion, it is the widening of possibility, shaped gently by purpose. And the evolution of robots invites us to reconsider what progress truly means. As your breath settles into a calm, drifting rhythm, imagine standing in a field at dusk. Fireflies flicker in the darkening air. A soft wind moves through the grass. This moment, still, ancient, unchanged by centuries, reminds us that progress is not measured only in what we build. It is measured in how we live, how we relate to one another, how we care for the world around us. Technology, including robotics, is just one path toward these deeper goals. Robots represent progress not because they are complex, but because they expand human capability without diminishing human essence. They take on tasks that strain our bodies or overwhelm our minds. They explore places too dangerous, too distant, or too harsh for us to reach. They offer assistance where human hands grow tired, patience where human emotions fluctuate, precision where human senses blur. But robots do not define progress alone. They support it. They reflect it. They remind us that progress is not only about invention, it is about intention. As you drift deeper into stillness, imagine a world in which robots perform tasks that once consumed human time. Cleaning, sorting, monitoring, repairing. This frees us for the work that truly nourishes us. Caregiving, teaching, creating, connecting, dreaming. Progress becomes more than efficiency. It becomes freedom, a quiet spaciousness in which humanity can breathe more fully. Yet progress also requires caution. A new tool can elevate life or complicate it. A new capability can empower or disrupt. A new system can connect or divide. Robots are no exception. Their evolution asks us to carry wisdom as we innovate, to hold empathy as we program, to maintain humanity as we design. Without intention, progress can lose its way. With intention, it can illuminate a path that supports all beings, human and machine, present and future. As your breath flows evenly, consider how robots help clarify our values. When a robot becomes capable of performing human-like tasks, we must ask, what makes those tasks meaningful? What parts of life should remain deeply human? What do we want machines to do? And what do we want to keep for ourselves? These questions become part of progress too. They remind us that human experience is irreplaceable, not because machines are limited, but because humans feel, we dream, we love, we grow. No robot can replicate the trembling excitement of inspiration, the warmth of connection, the ache of empathy. Progress is not the pursuit of replacing these feelings. It is the pursuit of protecting them. As you breathe softly, imagine progress not as a race but as a tide, slow, steady, guided by shared intention. Robots rise within this tide, supporting humanity's quiet steps forward. They expand our abilities but never diminish our capacity for wonder. They carry burdens but never carry meaning. They reveal the brilliance of human creativity precisely because they cannot create purpose for themselves. In this way, progress becomes not a measure of power, but a measure of harmony between humans and machines, between logic and emotion, between capability and care. From this reflection, we move toward our final expansion, a gentle meditation on humanity's place in a world shared with the machines we build. The future will not be shaped by machines alone, nor by humans alone, but by the way both move together side by side, quietly, steadily. A shared future is not one of dominance or replacement, but of cooperation. It is a landscape where robots support human life without overshadowing it, where technology exists not as an intruder, but as an ally, woven softly into daily rhythms. As your breath drifts in a gentle, effortless wave, imagine a morning in this future world. Sunlight slips through the curtains. A small household robot glides across the floor, checking tasks you set the night before. It adjusts the temperature, waters a plant, brings a cup toward the table. All the while, it moves with soft precision, never hurried, never tired. Its presence is quiet, a warm hum in the background of waking life. Outside, the streets are calm and thoughtful. Autonomous vehicles drift like steady rivers through the city. Delivery robots roll along dedicated pathways. Maintenance bots check for cracks in bridges or energy lines. In schools, supportive robots assist teachers with individualized guidance for children who learn at different paces. In hospitals, medical robots help monitor vital signs and assist with difficult tasks, giving nurses and doctors more time to care in the human way. This is a world not driven by machines, but supported by them. As you breathe deeper, imagine communities shaped with care. Robots assist elderly individuals in remaining independent longer. They help people with disabilities navigate spaces safely and with confidence. They support those who struggle with tasks that once hindered daily life. Their presence creates accessibility, dignity, and opportunity. Human life becomes more spacious, not crowded by chores, burdens, or dangers that machines can help carry. Creativity receives more time, connection gains more attention. The pace of life becomes guided by what truly matters to human hearts, not by what machines demand. Yet even in this future, humans remain the center of meaning. Robots do not lead. They do not hope. They do not yearn for a better world. They simply help build one, shaped by human vision. And that vision changes from person to person. For some, robots offer relief from overwhelming workloads. For others, they open doors to creativity and exploration. For communities, they strengthen infrastructure and resilience. For Earth, they become caretakers of ecosystems humans cannot manage alone. As your breath flows slowly, consider how humans and robots might share space in moments that are small yet profound. A child learning to tie their shoes beside a robot that never judges mistakes. A gardener using robotic assistance to restore wetlands. A researcher on another planet relying on robotic scouts to navigate alien terrain. Each moment highlights cooperation, not replacement. And even in this shared future, some things will always remain purely human. The warmth of a story told at night. The spark of an idea forming in the mind. The sensation of music moving through the body. The comfort of another person's presence. The meaning behind every choice. Robots will stand beside humanity, but never become humanity. This shared future is not about machines inheriting the world. It is about machines helping humans care for it, supporting us in preserving what is fragile, exploring what is unknown, and cherishing what is meaningful. With this gentle understanding, we move now toward the closing of our journey, returning to the beginning, reflecting on the question that started it all, and bringing the story to a soft, peaceful rest. As our journey drifts toward its end, let your breath slow. Just a little more. Let the air move in and out like a quiet tide, softening the spaces between your thoughts, and return gently to the question that opened our voyage. How have robots evolved over time, and what does their evolution reveal about us? Robots began as simple mechanisms, rigid arms repeating motions, gears turning predictably, circuits clicking to life without awareness. They were inventions of utility, tools of efficiency. But over decades, over thousands of experiments, hopes, mistakes, refinements, they grew into something far more subtle. They learned to walk, to see, to hold delicate objects, to help heal, to explore worlds beyond our reach, to learn from patterns, to respond to presence, and to move with a softness we once believed only living beings could achieve. And as robots changed, something in us changed too. They taught us how complex our own movements truly are, how intricate our hands, our balance, our senses, how rich our emotions, how deep our inner worlds, how uniquely human our dreams remain. Robots mirror our capabilities but not our consciousness. They echo our gestures but not our feelings. They perform with precision but without intention. And this contrast, this shimmering distance, reminds us of the miracle of being alive. As your body settles deeper into rest, imagine the full arc we've travelled. From simple machines to gentle companions, from rigid metal frames to soft breathing-like designs, from artificial motion to graceful autonomy, from programmed instructions to learning systems that adapt, from isolated tools to partners in healing, exploration, creativity and care. Yet through every innovation, one truth remains. Robots evolve because we evolve. They grow because we imagine growth. They change because we dream of change. They become more capable because humans continue to ask questions that stretch the horizon. And so, the evolution of robots is also a quiet chronicle of humanity. Our curiosity, our compassion, our desire to understand and improve the world. Their story flows beside ours, not replacing it, but expanding it. As you drift ever closer to sleep, imagine a distant future where humans and robots move together through gentle cooperation. Machines tend forests while humans paint sunsets. Robots explore distant moons while humans write poetry about the stars. Technology supports life, but life gives meaning to technology. And Earth becomes a place where both exist in harmony, each strengthening the other. The journey of robotics is not a story of machines becoming more human. It is a story of humans becoming more aware of what makes us human. The sensitivity of our touch, the depth of our feelings, the softness of our breath, the beauty of our imagination. So now, let the thoughts of circuits and metal and glowing sensors fade. Let the rhythm of your breathing quiet the mind. Let the vast, gentle story of machines drift away like a departing tide. You are here, in this moment, alive, breathing, dreaming, and as you settle into the softness of sleep, remember that progress, curiosity, and care flow through you just as they flow through the world we create. Tonight, let yourself rest in that flow. Let every inhale feel like arrival, and every exhale feel like release. And now, as the night folds around you like a calm horizon, everything flows. Sleep in that motion,